East Hampton Town Board, we are live.
Thank you, LTV. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the East Hampton Town Board work session of Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Carol, if you could please read the roll call.
Present. Present.
Present.
Councilmember Calder Piedmont.
Present.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Present. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So today we start our meeting with public portion. We ask you to please kindly keep your comments to 3 minutes. That's followed by 7 topics we have today. It's a jam-packed agenda. The first is the Change Hampton Town Hall Campus Update with Gail Pellet and Stephen Van Dam. Then we have the Building Department Update by Richard Normoyle, the 2025 Beach Update with David Lease, Chief Sarlo, and Johnny Ryan. We have an Agriculture Update by John Barley Dunn. Mark Morgan Perez will giving us an overview of the New York State Homes and Community Resource Homes, HCR, Manufactured Homes Program. David and I will lead a discussion about a recreational facilities proposal, and then I have a recommendation for proposed stop signs in Hands Creek Farm. That'll be followed by liaison reports and resolutions. So I believe, Bill Crane, you've signed up for a public portion. So welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Bill Crane, president of the East Hampton Group for Wildlife. I want to talk about the crossbow hunting. The DEC has allowed deer hunting with crossbows wherever bow hunting is allowed. This would mean that crossbows are allowed in October, November, December, and even during the traditional firearms season, because we now have bow hunting during that season in January. The crossbow is a powerful weapon. That's why the requirement is to shoot it, you have to be 500 feet, not 100 feet, but 500 feet from in a residential structure. It has a trigger like a gun. And it actually, some hunters on the social media have said, well, why a crossbow? Why not just allow rifle hunting all throughout all the months, all the hunting seasons? I think that the crossbow, it will be allowed with kids 15 and 14 years old. They'll have to be a parent in charge, but that's pretty young for a weapon of this magnitude. And when people want to go out and hike in the woods and during the regular bow hunting season, and these powerful weapons are there. I think there's a real public safety issue. I also feel for the deer. The deer, deer grow up playing together. They are very social. They warn each other in times of danger. They snort to warn each other that somebody's out, the predator's out there, usually a human. They are the most caring mothers one could imagine, the way they care for their young. They each have individual personalities, and each one wants to live. They all want to live as much as we want to live. It's just, to me, it's heartbreaking. We need more respect for the deer, and instead of increasing the power of our weapons used to kill them, the DEC allows it, but does East Hampton want to participate in this? Adding this powerful weapon. I believe there should be a public discussion. I know it's part of a wider conversation about tick-borne illnesses and vegetation and the deer's role in this, the literature, the peer-reviewed literature, and that is the journals where they systematically review it. The literature is sort of ambiguous on a lot of these issues. People look to the DEC for guidance, but the DEC has been expanding hunting. Every year they're looking for a way to add to hunting. Am I out of time?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, let me,
You can wrap it up.
I'll wrap it up. It's just, I want to just mention that they get funding from the sale of hunting equipment. And I just think we should think about the consequences for public safety and the well-being of the lives of deer before we move into adding this powerful weapon. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Would anyone else like to address the board? Gloria? Welcome, Gloria.
Good morning, Gloria Frazee. I haven't seen many of you since like last night. And I'm dressed fancy because I've just come from the gym because it's important. It was important for me to be here today. Last night, there was a debate for folks running for the town board. And I was outside acting as a greeter on behalf of Kate because it's important to I really feel it's important to talk to people and understand what they're thinking, how they're feeling, what they like, what they don't like about the town, which is what everyone here on the board does. And one of the most interesting conversations I had was with someone who said, I've been here for 38 years and there's no community left in East Hampton. And it was really, I felt so sad for them. They stopped coming to town board meetings about 25 years ago, and they're not involved in any of the fabulous community organizations that are here, that are available. I know each board member is a liaison to various neighborhoods, to various committees where everyone is involved, the community has a chance to be involved. We've got Stephen Van Dam and Gail Pellet here, who've been spearheading the beautiful community pollinator gardens here and the brand new meadow that they're going to talk about. There's Barley Dunn, who is with the East Hampton Shellfish Hatchery. I always get that mixed up, but he welcomes community members to come volunteer and help and understand what's going on in our waters. With Rewild this summer, we had, this couple also said, you can't get kids involved. Kids aren't doing anything. This summer with Rewild, we had 30 high school kids who donated almost 2,000 hours of community service from Share the Harvest. And farmer Regina is here, and she farms at that same plot right there. So they're also with Barley. They worked here with Change Hampton in one of Rewild's 6 pollinator gardens here and in the food pantries. So, and Ian was delivering to the food pantry, as was Share the Harvest, and it's so exciting to see the food that we're harvesting being put to the important use of feeding our neighbors. And there is community here. There's a massive heart of community here. And I'm looking forward to working together with Change Hampton and Perfect Earth Project. And Kate's been spearheading this with us to really bring the various organizations together to see how we can create bring more people from the community in. For example, with the kids, we've got basically environmental community-based summer camp. Why don't we do that for adults? So they have a possibility to see, okay, they can see this, they can see that the Rewild Gardens, they can come to Share the Harvest, they can understand what's going on in our community and where the heart of this community really lives. So I'm looking forward to working with everyone on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Would anyone else like to address the board? Okay. Jason, is there anyone on the line?
Yes, we have 2 callers on the line. Let me unmute the first. Give me a moment. And all right, in 3, 2. All right, hello, caller ending 8186. You're on the air.
Oh, thank you. Hi, this is Martin Drew Springs. Yeah, I just wanted to speak to the ongoing problems in our area with regard to Maidstone Park the restaurant problems and all the issues surrounding that. So I just wanted to be fair and alert you officials that seems to be a retribution agenda against my family. So I had to report my perceived political corruption in our town to the district attorney. So I'm just letting you folks know that we're no longer to be fooled with. And if any one of you council people want to speak to any of my facts, you all know how to get in touch with me. So the reality is I want to thank everyone that has engaged me, that being Mr. Calder Piedmont and Mr. Tom Flight. Thank you, gentlemen, for always engaging me in very difficult dialogue, and I think you understand the passion I have for my community. So if you guys would like to speak to any pre-existing non-conforming uses, my family's been a homeowner in that area since 1957. We own 2 homes, and we were former owners of the place across the street at Harbor Boulevard. So I'm trying to address public safety issues, not unlike Mr. Bill Crane. So I hope you folks take them seriously. And in the meanwhile, since I can't get the law enforcement cooperation, I had to alert the New York State troopers because I feel our town officials are not adhering to New York State vehicle and traffic law. So thank you, gentlemen. Your colleagues could learn a lot from you for engaging your constituency. And I look forward to watching you guys do good work for our community. And in the meanwhile, Ms. Burke Gonzalez, I know you don't like to make comments, so I'm hoping your receipt of my very strongly worded letter to you personally about my concerns ongoing. So please don't take this personally, but I have to protect my family and I have to protect my neighborhood, so that's what I'm doing. So just wanted to let you folks know in a fair manner, problems are serious, the public safety issues are real, and you guys need to start adhering to the language in the deed, the expectations of our town codes, and the New York State vehicle and traffic laws. And I hope our town attorney, Jake Turner, is speaking to the totality of circumstances that I would speak to. So there are solutions. I've put many forward, and it's time for you folks. Please do your job. Thank you very much. Thank you always for the opportunity to speak. Take care.
Thank you, Martin. Jason, if you could put the next caller through, please.
Doing that right now. Okay, caller ending. This is what I'm seeing over here in 9999. You're on the air.
Is this me again?
I guess it is. I don't know how your number appeared twice. Sometimes that happens. All right, but either way, have a great day.
No, I called from 2 separate phones. I was having difficulties getting through. But while I'm involved today in government and politics, I would like to speak to the recreation agenda you guys are speaking to. All those folks sitting on that town board, maybe minus the 2 gentlemen I was mentioning previously. I have 42 years in the topic of recreation, trying to get a dedicated site for our children in our community where 300 miles of trails, we have zero access to any of them to enjoy our lives and our hobbies. So I'm hoping you guys will speak to the facts about recreation, the participation by the Long Island Sports Committee, where I was chairman while I participated in all our committees and documents and all that sort of thing. So find some land for the kids. They deserve it. I would tell you down in other areas where I live, they do this around the airport, and they support people's activities. So we're finally looking for some support for our children in our community and the adults alike who enjoy motorsports and have had those opportunities overtaken by the political agendas that took 300 miles of trails and access away from us. So New York state law allows a dedicated site, and you can even charge a fee. So these folks deserve their recreation, however many times a month you can allow that to happen. So be fair to your community. We need our slice of the pizza, too. Take care now. Those are my comments for the day. Be well.
Thank you, Martin.
And we have no other callers on the line.
Okay, so we're going to move on to topics. So the first up is the Change Hampton Town Hall Campus Update, and we invite Gail Pellet and Stefan Van Dam to the podium so that we can hear what you folks have been working on. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for giving time to us today. We're going to set up some easels here. I don't know what the best position is for LTV, but
The one
you'll
next to
guide
you
us.
would be best. So if you just make it so it's next to you over on your right-hand side. So where your right hand is, right there. Perfect. Thank you. And I'm going to zoom out. I'm making sure that we can go and see this.
Okay, we
And
have-
in 3.
Okay, you've got the
So that's your slideshow that's going out that you'll see in the room, and out on broadcast, we'll see a combination of your view at the podium, your slides, and everything good to go.
Okay, so I think the only slide here is the map. I didn't realize it was here. We also have it on an easel. I'm Gail Pellet from Change Hampton and one of the co-founders. And Stefan Van Dam is also a co-founder, president of the board, and designed our website and all of our signage, which is also in the garden. We brought these today primarily for the LTV audience and people here to see.
Can this be seen?
Is that?
No, it has to be on
no.
the easel. Perfect. Thank you.
So maybe we put that up first or whatever.
Start from the beginning and then I'll add them.
Okay. In 2022, we established a private-public partnership with the town of East Hampton to create an ecological model to educate our community about why turf lawns are dead ecological zones and planting natives and pollinator-friendly plants is much healthier for us, non-toxic, biodiverse landscapes. And so the town, we actually want to thank the town who had great confidence in us, that we came along with this proposal and they trusted us to do it on town property. And so we transformed this 4,000 square foot piece of turf lawn, which was turf lawn out here, and created this magnificent pollinator garden, which is now in its third year of gloriousness. Today, we want to just review a few things about the pollinator garden and what we did with beginning the creation and installation of the 14,000 square feet of native grassland pollinator meadows, and to talk about briefly the plan for 2026 to complete that project. And we're going to then introduce an physical educational project at the end of all that. So first, the pollinator garden. The third year, we've all witnessed the hundreds and thousands of native bees and moths and butterflies and the birds that are starting to come in from this garden. And you know that we, as Change Hampton, we organized the pro bono professional talent and expertise to create the garden. Abby Lawless, our designer, and organize community volunteers to maintain and come and help clean up the garden at the end of the year and all of that, and also to get donations locally from nurseries like Whitmore's, who donated 8 native trees to this garden. Everybody should know there was not a native tree on the town campus when we started these projects. And we want to acknowledge also that every week in spring, summer, and early fall, 2 wonderful women come. They are master gardeners. They are Barbara Burnside and Lori Petrosky. They come and weed this garden. This garden is maintained really quite to a pristine level by those 2 women. We also have, and are very fortunate in having Paul Munoz and his Eco Harmony team come and do the professional landscape part of it, which is keeping the bed's edge, to trim the trees in and to wrap the trunks for winter against deer. We do have a deer herd here, and we have designed the garden in such a way to try to put off deer as much as possible, although we know how hard that is. And we do spray a little wolf piss on the garden occasionally. And Paul does that, as well as regulating the irrigation, because we're tamping down the irrigation all the time. Native plants survive on their own. We also want to acknowledge that Steve O'Brien, who heads the Building and Grounds Department, has been very cooperative and helpful at any moments when we needed that kind of help from the town, and it keeps the lawn that we preserved mowed to our specifications. And we'll continue to add new plants to it every year, because some do not make it and others become bullies employees, and we have to cut those back. There's one issue today that we need the board approval for in terms of future plan for the pollinator garden, and that is we want to put a bluestone patio underneath the picnic table and benches, which means we will be picking out a permanent spot for that table and benches. And we're looking and following the growth of the wonderful sweet gum tree in the middle and the shade that it casts, because we're trying to pick the spot that has the most shade. And we can talk about that. We have donation of both the bluestone itself, the materials, and the labor to do it. So we can discuss that afterwards. We hope to also install bird baths and bee baths this year, because Darrell Godfrey promises she won't do any more photographs for us in the garden until we get a bird bath. So there was one other issue, is that when we established the private-public partnership with the town offered to pay for the insurance of the garden, liability insurance. It covers both us and the town, and they specified $3,000 a year. That insurance has gone up every year, so this year it has come to $3,480, and maybe we can have a discussion with it.
It's in the 2026 budget.
Yeah, so that we can talk about that. Okay, transferring to the meadows. I think there's a poster here about why grassland meadows are important. We put those signs up in the meadow areas. We started in the March of this year. Abby Lawless came with Jason Lagaren and his team, and in that cold, bitter March, they laid out the design for all the beds. Where is the map? Beds A, B, C, and D are the 4 beds closest to the buildings here. Then we have E, F, and G, which are the big meadow plots across the entranceway to it. And the whole idea, of course.
Can you see what I'm pointing to?
Yeah, it's here for us, and we all have copies of it.
Okay, great, terrific. So the idea then, after Jason's team took off the turf for all those meadows, mechanically, it was a different method than we used in the pollinator garden, where we used the lasagna method, as we call it, putting down cardboard, mulch, and compost. They removed it because of the size and scale of that project mechanically, but Munoz's team had to keep all through the spring and early summer, keep weeding and removing grasses that were coming up. It's part of a process. And by June, early June, we put in 5,000 plugs of grasses, a range of native grasses, short, long, Long Island natives, New York natives, and pollinators, and you've seen the result. We put mostly a very high mix of the perennials in these 4 beds right outside the buildings. And across the other way, we have 1 bed where we have put in a fair number of perennials because they're the beauty ones immediately. The grasses will be gorgeous as these meadows evolve, but immediately the flowering plants came up and promised. With 2 of those beds, it's F and G. G has been seeded. We are doing a mix of seeding and perennials, and then E, F is the big one out there that has not been planted yet. And people may be curious, what happened to that? Did we forget? No, we just had to take a longer time to cut back the weeding and stuff in that. And we are going to be doing something called dormant seeding. It'll be seeded in December. It's an overwinter kind of seeding that will produce hardy plants by spring, and it'll mix again of grasses and perennials. Just to repeat, we don't do these gardens just because they're beautiful and gorgeous, of course, which they are. We are doing them because we are using primarily native plants, And native plants have deep roots, which help to clean the toxins out of our soil and our water systems, groundwater, and eventually that has an impact on our drinking water and our marine, our bays, et cetera. But also because native plants have evolved over millions of years with specific insects and birds that are critical to our pollinator process and the survival of our ecosystems. When the insects are gone, we're gone. And there are other, lots of things that are operating to destroy insect life. We've lost almost 40% of them since 1970. We've lost 3 billion birds in this country. We've lost something like 2/3 of our wildlife. Not part of that cause is the removal of habitat. We've removed so much habitat, and that's why reducing lawns helps in that process of restoring habitat, but also pesticides, of course, and climate change now itself is having a huge impact on the survival of species. So I'm getting off. I know we've got to move along here. We place signage out in the grassland meadows to explain why grassland meadows are so important. They were once a major ecological landscape of Long Island, and they've been paved over, removed, turned into golf courses, buildings, highways, parking lots, whatever. So why are grasslands so important? Because they are drought resistant. Their deep roots do what I talked about before, the whole cleaning of soils and water. They support something like 250 species of insects and birds and other kind of wildlife. And we are doing this for another reason as well, that working towards a new land ethic here, trying to convince our community that it's healthier for us and the ecosystem to restore native landscape. And also and we realize that part of that challenge is to create a new aesthetic and convince people it's even more beautiful than a 5-acre lawn with pruned non-native shrubs on it. So we have a formidable task, we realize. So one other request we have from the board in terms of a board decision is we would, Paul Munoz and Abby have said that it would be helpful if we could put 2x4 planks inside the edging of all the garden beds and meadow beds. It helps in preventing crabgrass and stuff from leaping over from the paths into the bed, but it also helps reduce the amount of time spent on edging. And you realize people are donating this labor to us, so we anything that can reduce that demand is helpful. Now, going towards 2026, when we originally presented the proposal for the grassland meadows to the town, we talked about a couple of more beds just to the, the north of the existing E, F, and G beds that are already created on the other side of the
ochre color.
And they would be called H and I believe, on the map. We would like to, we're going to go back to the cardboard system of removing the lawn. We'd like to start that process this winter with some compost and mulch on top of those beds. We will then plant them next spring and summer. And Abby is preparing a list of the kind of grasses for the open sunbed of bed H. And we also are planning to plant a number of oak trees there, again in the mission to try to install more native trees on the town campus. And we have a wide variety of oaks here. They are our most precious tree on the East End. In our landscape, our environment, many people see them as messy, creating too many leaves. It's the first thing that contractors want to remove and clear from a lot when they're building is get rid of all those oaks. Well, it turns out that the oak trees are the most keystone species we have. They support over 500 species of insects and birds, and we need to keep embracing our oaks and protecting them as best we can. And so we wanted to plant a cluster of oaks in that area out there too. Maybe we have scarlet oaks here, red oaks, black oaks, white oaks, green oaks, and we don't know yet the mix because we'll probably get them donated from one of the nurseries. And we also plan to have a little area just close to that where we, especially helpful for working with children and educating about this process, and this thing is to have an acorn sapling area where we're growing oaks from acorns as well as doing the mature trees in there. Abby has put forth ideas for a bunch of different plants under the already existing big native trees. There are linden trees down closer to the highway. They will be shady underneath, so we will put in a variety of native ferns under there. The whole idea, Kate has said this herself at some point, this is school. We don't do it just because it's gorgeous. It's school. It's an educational model to show what native plants and it can create in the process of working towards healthier ecosystems and for human health. So let's see, I think now, so we see the enormous educational opportunities with all of this. And as Gloria mentioned, we've had the Rewild Summer student interns here in the summertime weeding, both in the pollinator garden and in the new meadows. And we welcome all of that. We've had families with children to come in together to help us plant, and many more folks involved. So Stefan has a concept he'd like to.
Oh, sure. Step up to the podium, Stefan.
Do you want to hand out some individuals? Hi, my name is Stefan Van Dam. I'm the president of Change Hampton, and people keep on asking us to explain various ecological systems and how they work in their yards. And so we started to making these little thought cards to talk about these issues. Folks in real estate, architects and builders have asked for a handy pocketable guide to explain the environmental registrations their clients are confronted with when buying or renovating in the town. So to explain these natural processes in context, we developed what we call our action fans to make 8 complex processes clear. Now, Kate and Kathy already have this, but I don't think, gentlemen, you have not received this yet. Yes.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
2. We need 3, we only got 2. Ian, I hope you don't mind.
What's that?
So we wanted to share these, but we only have 2 more left.
No, these are great.
This is
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so 8 issues. Why did we choose these 8? And why do we start with a new land ethic? We feel that a new land ethic is required that preserves life, biodiversity, and sustainability, and to plant the idea that we can't really be healthy in a toxic environment. Second one, let me show you. Yeah, actually, I should be. Number 2. Water. Water in all its forms is our most precious resource. Without clean water, there's no business, there's no tourism, there's no economy, there's no life. 3, why natives? Given the pervasive spraying and resultant runoff, natives are our natural way to clean the water as it drops down into the aquifer before we drink it. 4, keynote species. Gail alluded to this. Don't cut the oaks. They're a keynote species supporting more than 500 different insects. We need them. We're going to plant them in the campus. There seems to be this urge by a lot of people. They come out here and the first thing they do is cut down all the oaks. That is not smart and wise for our future. If we want to have a functioning food chains, we need those trees that host these insects. Next, soil is not dirt. We see this on every construction site, the overclearing, the huge mounds of earth that are essentially considered to be dirt. Next one. Oh, that's a tricky one. Loving the leaves. It will require a new way of thinking for us to realize that leaves are natural fertilizer and they do not express the moral character of the person's lawn. So there's a rethink that we need to help, and we hope that this action plan can contribute to this effort. Well, huge one, ticks. I'm told that some people brag about the kind of spraying that they do as a status symbol in our town. I haven't heard it, it's hearsay, so I hope it's not true. But there is healthy ways to deal with ticks, a legitimate concern, but it doesn't include killing all the other insects in the yards. There is scientific data that is clear that human and tick encounters are not less if you spray your yard rather than spraying yourself. So in general or in total, I'd say more life, less killing. And we think that this action plan can go a long way in starting the conversation. And we actually would like to partner with the town to put one of these into the hands of every person that lives in our town. We think there is 3 key benefits to doing this. 1, we all want to live in a town where people are well informed about the ecological consequences of their actions. 2, this is an essential tool for professionals in architecture, construction, and real estate to field the questions that their clients are asking them and for which they're not trained. An architect is not trained to explain why native plants are good for clean water. So here's a way to help the professional classes to answer those urgent questions. And it's a keeper and an opportunity for the town to communicate with the town in a meaningful way and in a sustained way. Nobody's going to throw this away. This will stimulate conversation and will raise these issues and provide actionable solutions. Now, we can produce these in quantity for $350 based on a run of 2,500 copies, dropping down to $250 if we do 5,000 or $1.99 if we partner on a run of 10,000 of these. These could be distributed through town offices. They can be sent out with a newsletter. They can be handed out at events. I think it makes the board look forward-thinking and aware of what our challenges are and how to address the ignorance that unfortunately reigns in so many ways. I have an example. When I ask 8 of my most educated friends of where their water comes from, 8 don't know. Here's a way to help mitigate this, to communicate effectively, to start the conversation, and to take that classroom that we built out there and put it into people's pockets. Do you have questions? No.
No comments?
I do have one, which is, I mean, the key word here for me is biodiversity, right?
Sorry?
Biodiversity.
Yes.
That is what we're aiming for with this project. That is why we want people to pursue this over, say, lawns and kind of more homogeneous types of vegetation. Biodiversity is the key identified for our species' long-term survival, both in terms of resources, et cetera. So in that concept, I totally get this. You know, I did think it was interesting hearing Gail's earlier comment with regards to, even with this project, you have threats to this from deer. And it's kind of a topic that's come up before. It's a topic that's coming up elsewhere. And we've talked about this in our own the town wildlife committee with regards to that. We have, as a town, potentially reached our ecological biodiversity threshold with regards to deer. You know, the impact they're having on this town, we're seeing across the town. We have the town exclosure that's, you know, shut off from deer. And when you go into that exclosure and you see the diversity of species versus the surrounding area, it is significant. So hearing that you've had that problem here as well, it is really interesting for me to hear that. You know, in terms of the tick pieces, obviously that is huge, and how we manage that, I agree. Like, you know, the use of pesticides is very problematic, both in terms of our, you know, impact on our water bodies here, but also with regards to human interactions. I mean, we have microbes on our skin. Those pesticides can have massive impacts on our own biome as well. So,
if I can comment to this, these are biocides. They don't just kill critters. There is a reason why cancer rates are through the roof on Long Island, and especially on the East End. And it was interesting, we had a conversation with the chairman of the Suffolk County Water Authority, who alerted us to the fact that they were way ahead of the EPA standard and that they were testing for 450 different chemicals. Well, a concurrent DEC report stated that over 1,700 chemicals are used in Suffolk County, 6 million pounds a year, and, you know, that has an effect on biodiversity, clearly. We have neighbors who are up the hill who spray, and, you know, all that stuff runs down into the bay where I'd like to swim. So there is a conversation that we all need to have to figure out, how do we channel this into the right way? And I think education and is a critical part of this. And as Kate has so aptly described our school outside, let's put that school into the pockets of everybody who resides in this town. Change requires understanding, and, you know, these are complex issues that in school none of us learned these complex scenarios. So we feel this is a way to make complex things clear and to educate in a playful way that is, it will gain more adherence to exactly the concerns that you're raising. So thank you very much.
So what I'd like to do here, I mean, we have a robust agenda, so I want to keep things moving. But so you've asked for board decisions on a couple of different things. So with phase 1 and 2, the question was, is the board comfortable with a bluestone patio underneath the picnic table that's outside in the pollinator garden?
will there be a weed barrier underneath the bluestone?
Will there be a weed barrier underneath? Don't know. Gail, will there be a weed barrier?
A weed
Barrier.
Yeah, I just in terms of like managing town employees' workload, like having bluestone, if they're going to have to continually go in and kind of weed it, that creates workload. So
I don't think so, but we will check and we'll get back to you on this. I think there can be crushed cement underneath in order to insulate it from the weeds, but we will talk to the people.
And right now, the Change Hampton folks have been doing the weeding, but at some point that's going to get turned over to us. Second was the insurance. I've already said that that's already already accounted for in the 2026 budget, so we're good there.
Thank you.
The last thing that impacts phase 1 and phase 2 is you asked for 2x4 edging along the garden beds in order for easier maintenance. Is everybody good?
Yeah, just as long as it's not CCA wood. I'd want an untreated wood being used for that.
One would think that that's a standard.
Rot and become part
Right,
of the.
so everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay, so phase 3, you introduced or reintroduced what you're looking to do in beds H and I and J and K. And you've also asked for an oak cluster and the action fans. We're going to discuss that and get back to you, but I wanted to give you answers for phase 1 and 2 because those are more immediate.
Great.
Sound fair?
My only concern about the untreated wood is how long it's going to last. You know, it seems like it would rot very, very quickly. So I don't know if that's the best edging material. I defer to you as the experts. You've done a great job, but
You mean the wood planks to the edge?
yeah, if it's untreated and in the soil, within a couple of years, it's probably deteriorating. So I just don't know if there's other edging material to accomplish the same goal, but
We'll discuss it with Abby.
Will be non-toxic.
Yeah.
that's important.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, but, as we all witness, sitting here, we watch people come up, get their phones out. This is an incredible educational, what did you call it, model that you have created. And you've actually moved the market, right? We've seen, folks like Whitendale's and Whitmore's, add more native plants, and Whitmore's actually has now a division for native plants. So you're driving the market from a customer
We get
demand.
increasing calls, daily, weekly.
Right.
How do we make the change in our yard? How do we make the change? And so we are encouraging more and more landscape professionals to move in this direction, and they are eager to do so. It's also convincing property owners that this.
Right.
It's actually to turn landscapers into land care experts, which is a whole new burgeoning industry. We don't have enough staff to really meet all the demand, but the action fan is part of this whole rethinking of that the domination of nature has really brought us to this, and we need to work with nature naturally, not through chemicals that kill us ultimately. Sorry to be so drastic and concrete, but cancer is all around us.
Well, I certainly support beauty with benefits.
Okay.
And that's what I think that these initiatives do. Tom spoke about the biodiversity. We need to support our biodiversity. So this is visual beauty, but also has intense ecological benefits. And I think that's the goal. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Steph and Gail, sorry, just one quick question in terms of, operational management. How long is Change Hampton's commitment to the weeding program, and at what point is the town scheduled to take that over?
I think that originally, in the original licensing agreement, it was 2027. It was renewed, so we haven't actually discussed this internally. We hope definitely for the foreseeable future, and as the expansion of the program is proceeding, that is part of our mission. And I think maintenance is the critical component to work with something that's alive.
And the maintenance issues also are an organizing principle for us to involve more community volunteers in the garden. We organize a group to come and clean up in the spring. We're about to put up our sign here again, "We're not lazy," which means we don't do anything with this pollinator garden or the meadows until next spring. We don't cut it down in the fall because the birds and insects and animals use it intensely all the time.
And it's just as beautiful during the winter as it is, it has all season interest, and it beats folks running around with blowers polluting the air.
I will say I may be alone in this, but I'm not a huge fan of the "We're not lazy" sign. If there's a different catchphrase you could use, I just think when people walk up to town hall and they see that sign, doesn't always portray the best message of the town operation. So if there's a different message you could consider, I would personally appreciate it.
No, we appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for all you do.
Having confidence in us to do this.
And for working with us to make a better place. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, so now moving right along, we have a presentation by Richard Normoyle, and he's for our building department update. Welcome, Rich. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank Supervisor Kathy Burke Gonzalez, all the board members, and our town attorney, Jake Turner, for your confidence in my abilities to lead the restructure of your building department, bringing me aboard as your principal. I prepared a statement that outlines the function, the immediate future, and the long-term planning of the town of East Hampton's restructure of your building department. Certainly exciting things coming. The building department is responsible for reviewing and approving all construction in the town of East Hampton. The office issues building permits, certificates of occupancy, rental registry permits, title search reports, property research reports, performs property inspections, provides public information and assistance, and collects all related fees. It's a sizable job description. The reconstruction plan for our building department includes 1 new and 1 additional building inspector, 2 new plans examiners, and a new front office assistant will be added to the staff. The new plans examiners will serve 2 essential purposes: to determine code compliance for proposed construction and relieve the building inspectors of plan review duties. Until recently, building inspectors performed not only building inspections, but in addition, performed plan reviews for building permit applications. The combined duties, while allowable, are not a common practice. By assigning that function to dedicated plans examiners, we anticipate through plan reviews will allow for more inspections by the inspectors. The front office assistant will provide direct answers to residents and applicants' questions, again, while allowing other staff to perform their assigned duties. In addition to the new staff, a longer, greater focus on technology and training within the department workforce will create better efficiency in the ability for staff members to perform their respective duties. Also, internal categorizing of applications will reduce the application review time. The OpenGov system streamlined the application process from the original paper to an electronic-based system. OpenGov provides ease of access to both the applicants and the staff. However, with the transition of certain processes must be further refined. We are working with the applicable departments to modify the electronic submission components to better categorize the information. Further, staff is currently training with OpenGov and Plan Review System to be fully prepared for this application process. A central email address, opengovbuildings@ehamptonny.gov, has also been created to allow for feedback and suggestions from the community regarding how to optimize OpenGov. Further training will also be conducted for the new staff in both code certification and field inspections. Code certification will be provided through the state certification process, while I lead the hands-on field training for our new employees. Review time of applications overall will be greatly reduced by implementing the changes discussed before. In addition, by classifying permits into different categories, wait time for certain permit applications can be reduced. Simple permit applications would be for pools, solar panels, decks, sheds, and the like would be expedited. The goal being to allow those simple permit applications to be processed at a greater speed. We have identified a path forward for the building department to reduce application time through staffing, training, utilization of technology, and internal organization. I'd like to introduce some of our new inspectors. We have 2 new plans examiners with us today, Joe Birdie and Jacob Sutherland. We have a new building inspector with us today, Aaron Arkinson. And we also have Paul Coletti, who could not be here. His start time will be next week.
Great.
I thank you for your time, And I look forward to the exciting changes coming to the building department. Thank you all.
We may have questions. Welcome, gentlemen. Excited to see you all and that you're ready to start as of yesterday. Well, Joey, you've been here about a month, so you can show these guys around. Aaron, you were in code enforcement for a number of years, and now you've made the transition over to the building department. And Jake, everybody may recognize Jake because Jake was working at the security/greeter desk in the evening. So you're familiar and live here in the town as well. So all three of these young men live here in East Hampton, and we're really excited to have you working with Rich on the restructuring of the department. So you guys can sit down, and thank you for being here today. I don't know if town board members have comments or questions for
Rich.
for Rich.
I would just say I really appreciate the way you've come into this position and kind of taken an overview of what needs addressing and how to go about addressing it. I think you're absolutely on the right path. As I said to you before, the support we can give you as a board, please kind of be vocal about reaching out to us to get that support, because we understand that there's things we need to improve on in there. I have from the business committee some recommendations I'll be mentioning in my liaison report as to, just possibilities that we could explore to, help improve our public relations as much as anything else, but also our operational focus. But yeah, thank you and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I've been fortunate to have a couple of meetings with you, and particularly about trying to help the residents with applications, loopholes, nuances that we're trying to make a little bit smoother. As the town takes on more, either for water quality funding or other applications that go through your office, there's ways that we can do some certain things administratively for the easier applications, but making sure that the language that's within the code is appropriate and defensible, or others don't find their way around it, is extremely important. I really do appreciate the 25 certifications that you have and the nearly 30 years that you have in the building industry and government. And I look forward to assisting you and your staff, all of them, moving ahead, and specifically Allison McDougall also, then too. I think she's been a bedrock there as we've transitioned also.
Yes.
Allison Bennett, I would say.
I would.
Allison Bennett McDougall.
I would also thank the existing staff in the building department for making my transition to this position seamless. They work very hard for this town.
So yeah, I wouldn't add any more than what my fellow board members said. I've spoken to you as well, and I look forward to what changes you bring to the department in terms of efficiency, modernization, and also appreciate all the new staff members, and look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just reiterate what everybody's already said. Thank you for being here. We've had some conversations as well. I think you're very thoughtful. Your experience that you're bringing to the town is fantastic. I think you're on exactly the right track. And as Tom said, I think, as I've told you personally, anything we can do to help support you, anything you need, would like to do that.
Thank you all. We're listening to everyone's suggestions, and we're doing everything we can to improve.
Right, and we had talked about, we're setting up an email address, opengovbuilding@ehamptonny.gov for folks in the community. Tom's got some folks in the business committee that have some recommendations, but folks that are using OpenGov, have the user experience, and we want to hear from them as well. So that is getting set up by IT as we speak.
Yes.
So thanks for joining us today,
Thank you
Rich.
both. Thank you
All
all.
right.
Thank you.
Be well. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. Okay, next up we have is the 2025 beach update. David's going to introduce, and I see Chief Sarlo, John Rooney, I didn't see you earlier, welcome, and Chief Johnny Ryan Jr. You want to tee it up, and I guess Chelsea, you're going to pull up the presentation for us, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chelsea Winslow, for helping us. We have Chief Sarlo here. We also have our Superintendent of Recreation, John Rooney, and also our Chief Lifeguard, John Ryan Jr. Probably about 100 years combined of experience with each of your expertises right now, leading the residents to a great public safety year. We started the Beach Advisory Group in response to COVID, making sure that we can have our beaches open during COVID in a successful year. With the board's support under Madam Supervisor Kathy Burke-Gonzalez, we continued that in having a pre-season meetings, and also having showing to the residents and the town board an exit exit programming for the summer of 2025 and the past summers. This helps us prepare for next year, find out what we're seeing on the beaches and what we need to do more. Our next slide is our Town Beach and Parks Department and the Recreation Advisory Group, includes myself as liaison council member, Chief Michael Sarlo, John Ryan, the Superintendent of Recreation, Steve O'Brien, who's our superintendent, our town's Building and Grounds Department head, Tim Treadwell, who is our from the Marine Patrol, John Ryan Jr., Chief Lifeguard, Francis Bach, who's our clerk of our town trustees, and others here that are in an advisory capacity. This 2025 beach season report will include a summary of preseason hiring and certification activity, summary of our beach operations, which are numerous, seasonal protected versus unprotected beach responses, East Hampton Town Police Department recap, Marine Patrol recap, Buildings and Ground recap, Recreation recap, and also recommendations for action plans as we start to enter the 2026 season, which is around the corner. I'm going to let John Ryan Jr., Chief John Ryan Jr., please go through the next couple of slides if you don't mind. Thank you, Johnny.
Sure. Every March, East Hampton Town Lifeguards offer a Stillwater certification, and then following in May, after Memorial Day weekend, we start our ocean certification. This year, we qualified 31 lifeguards Stillwater certified and 35 ocean certified. In additional, every 3 years, lifeguards have to recertify those skills. And three Stillwater recertifications took place, and 48 ocean lifeguard recertifications took place as well. I will say that summer started with the first training, ocean training. The test conditions were horrendous, I think. That would be a good word for it. It was rain, heavy rain, and cold, and the water was cold, and but yet 23 took the test, and 19 were successfully able to pass that test. In addition, our junior lifeguard enrollment has increased this year, this past summer, and mostly in Amagansett, small increase in Montauk, also the NIPA program, and John will go over the numbers for those later on, but the NIPA program in Amagansett and Montauk also increased. The East Hampton Town Lifeguards employed 150 lifeguards in the 2025 season. 119 lifeguards were lifeguards, and 31 were officers. Also included in that 150 are lifeguard instructors, junior lifeguard instructors, and cadet instructors. Those individuals don't work full time on the beaches, but they sure do come in very good. They do come in handy at the end of the season when we lose our college kids to heading back to school. We rely on them to see if they can give us a day out of their work week to come down and work the stands so we don't have to close beaches. I will say the recruiting has been very successful over the past 3 or 4 years, and I will say that out of the 45 years of lifeguarding that I've been employed by the town, I think this is the only year I can ever remember all of our beaches staying open. And I'm not talking about closing one beach or two beaches. Most of the years, it's all 3 bays are shut down. Maybe 1 bay is kept open. We just don't have the numbers. This year we did, and we were able to keep every one of our lifeguarded beaches open. It certainly did come in handy. Those instructors, and as well as the new recruits that are our high school kids. We rely heavily on them to cover the positions that are left vacant from kids going back to college. The QR stickers were added to beach signage links, linking for our beach wheelchairs. That people can certainly click on that link, brings them to the town website, allows them to understand how they can access the beach wheelchairs at our beaches. I always say everybody has a right to the beach and should definitely not be held up because they have difficulty getting onto the beach. So we provide those beach wheelchairs at our lifeguarded beaches. Also, beaches were manned from May 24th through September 14th, with 2 postseason weekends after Labor Day. In 2025, we had a moderate surf season. 65 days were green flag, 19 were yellow flag, 2 were red flag, and then we have 4 no flag days. That was during Hurricane Erin.
Which was a challenge, but I think your Corps really stepped up with the work of the police department, also Marine Patrol, for safety on the beach, because that was during a time where we actually closed the beaches. So it was well done and coordinated by the group.
And a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, we take a lot of flack for that. You know, you close the beaches, you keep people from going on the beaches. They don't realize the danger of that surf as the surge of water comes in, knocking individuals. We had a number of rescues during and before and after Erin arrived here. And, you know, you're lucky those people are alive today. We certainly didn't want to lose anybody because they felt they had the right to go down on the beach and test Mother Nature. So the county understand this, that, you know, they look at the people standing at the top of the beach and blame them, and I even had conversations with friends and whatever, but the county makes those decisions. The county gives us the ability to open our beaches and provide them the safety on our beaches. We get that permit every year from the county, and the county made a decision to shut those beaches down. We are following directives from the county. We certainly didn't need to lose our permit to operate those beaches because of an individual feeling they had the rights to going down and tempting their own fate. In any case, the town beaches hosted approximately 171,335 beach patrons this season. Numbers up from last season, 33,000, approximately 33,000 from last year. With the beach operations suspended and the season's over, we are presently inventorying supplies and equipment and preparing for season of 2026.
I understand there's going to be more weekends this year. I was talking to someone who has a seasonal business, whereas this was like 2025 was one of the shortest summers because Memorial Day was late and Labor Day was early. But next year, Memorial Day is early and Labor Day is late.
Yeah, it was
optimism. I love it.
Chief Sarlo, we're going to have a longer summer.
Yeah,
here we go.
Woohoo!
Hallelujah. Lifeguard units recorded 44 aided injuries, and these should be shown in the graphs at the end, but 44 aided injuries responses in 2025. Of these, 13 required EMS, 10 resulted in hospitalization or transport to get evaluated by a medical physician. No fatalities, thank God, occurred in the town of East Hampton beaches during operational hours. Mobile units logged 40 emergency responses, which is up 25% across from both districts, including 7 jet ski responses, 8 ATV responses, and 25 truck responses. This season, all chief vehicles were equipped with AED, Narcan kits, and thanks to the training of the Marine Patrol officer, Matt Zukowski, he came down and trained all of our guards and stopped the bleed. We had tourniquets in every truck as well as at every beach in the event we needed them, which we didn't, thank God. All right, we did receive three AEDs that were donated by a gentleman named Dave Plotkin. If you don't remember who he is, he's the individual that had a heart attack at Indian Wells and was brought back after 20 minutes of unresponsiveness, no heartbeat, and came back. And he's, to this day, he calls me on the day he died and came back to life during the summer of 2023. Lifeguards performed 98 rescues this year at protected beaches. An additional 53 rescues were made at various unprotected locations on the ocean. Unprotected rescues again doubled from last year. From last year, 93% of all rescues were a result of rip current rescues. Obviously, this highlights the importance of people swimming in protected areas, and we understand what the amount of parking there is, and then maybe not be able to go there, or maybe it's a little more convenient to be in an unprotected area. It is important for us to make sure that we advise the public of these dangerous currents, dangerous surf conditions. Which is one of the things that we've been recording this year as well, and that's they're called prevents, letting people know that preventative rescues, preventative injuries, but it was quite a successful summer.
Thank you, Johnny, and we'll bring you back up a little bit.
I have a question, maybe I'm jumping ahead. The Beach Guardian program, which TJ Calabrese rolled out, I understand we're bringing it back in 2026, and could you just touch on that too?
Sure. It's so we teach individuals, the junior lifeguards, the NIPA program. We teach those programs to build these individuals, make them water safe, ocean awareness, open water awareness and we teach confidence, or first of all, comfort. When somebody's comfortable in the water, they float better, they relax, they float. The lungs are their flotation device. Anxious, they sink, they drown, they panic. Well, the same thing goes for adults. We've been asked for many years. When can you start an adult junior lifeguard program? Well, we did at one point, and it just didn't work. But that happens all the time. You start something that doesn't work, you go back to the drawing boards, you figure it out. Well, this year we did a pilot program, and that pilot program, Beach Guardian Water Safety Program for parents. And the first day of people came, they signed their waivers, and there were 53 parents involved in the program. We are teaching comfort, confidence, making sure that how to read the ocean like a lifeguard does every day they walk down on the beach. We teach them that buoy out there is our marker, and there's ways in which we can get to it. We teach them about water rip currents and the way waves break, and how to get through the break. There's two safe spots. I always say it's on the beach or it's out beyond the break. All right, when you're out beyond the break, once we got everybody out beyond the break, they asked, what do we do, swim in? I said, no, we talk. We talk about how we got out here, and in about 10 minutes time, they hadn't even realized it. They were treading water for 10 minutes, comfortable as they would be if they were standing on the beach asking questions. All right, and then we came in. We teach them how to come in, looking back, side stroke, so that you can see the waves breaking. And if it's too much for you, you go back underneath it, and you just wait for the lull, and you move in with the lull. And every day started with a talk about what they read, reading the ocean, and ended with high fives and a round of applause for everything they've accomplished. It's going to be very exciting next year. We're looking so much forward to it, to having it on a Beach Guardian program in Amagansett and in Montauk.
It's great
stuff. Grow just as well as the junior program.
John, you mentioned a little about the permit from Suffolk County to operate the beaches. Could you just tell the public a little bit more about, what that entails in terms of sanitary codes, water quality testing, and the beach safety plan as well? Because I think that's kind of part of the undercurrent that no one really understands, that you put a lot of work into. So it'd be interesting for us to hear that as well.
Sure. So in the spring of every year, thanks to my boss, John Rooney, he fills it out. The same every year. Yeah, people say, why can't you put a stand in the middle of Beach Hampton? Why not, right? Put a stand there. No, well, you can't do it because there's no bathing, there's no comfort station. Has to be within 1,000 feet of a stand. Must be 1,000 feet of a comfort station. So that's a requirement. They need to know the maximum capacity of individuals that are permitted on the beach. In the protected area, there are rules and guidelines from signage to flags to how wide your swim area is, to the number of people that you're allowed, maximum capacity of people allowed in the water, which we never exceed, but it's kind of a crazy number. But and they come down and they inspect the beaches, and when there is water quality concerns, they send a notice out to the we're all on an email, and it gets sent out to us saying, look, there's concerns about this beach or that beach, and that may result in shutting it down. And then obviously when we have hurricanes and severe storms, they too will reach out and to municipalities and ask for advisement. During Hurricane Erin, they had shut the beach. They had called out beaches are closed, and by saying that, when I reached out to Nancy Pearson, she said, well, Smith Point, for example, their whole pier the beach is gone. They can't allow anybody off the top of deck of theirs. Their beach is shut down. So we're not having that. This is prior to Erin's arrival. They already were seeing difficult beach erosion that caused difficulty for a lot of people. We didn't have that issue. So she said, well, it really meant beaches are closed to bathing. Okay. If we have beaches are passable, and this is where it really came in handy. We had a discussion. We pulled everybody together. We made sure we knew what was going to happen and how to deal with it. So the county advises us on these things, and then when Erin came, it advised us that the beaches will be closed.
Can you add one thing to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, just, and you mentioned beach safety plans. So every 2 years, we have to submit a full comprehensive beach safety plan, and that's part of the permitting process. And this year happens to be one of those years coming up. So.
And how frequent is the water quality testing by Suffolk County?
I could not answer that. They come randomly. They come. I don't know if they have a set schedule. I don't know that answer.
Right. You see the truck coming and going. They don't walk up to the lifeguards and saying, and they go out there and they're pulling. Yeah, off they go.
It's usually if there's a problem, then they contact us.
They do an inspection every year at the beach where they come down, they check certifications, CPR, CPR first aid, and lifeguard certification, ocean or supervision level 1 or supervision level 2B, which is supervision level 2B is still water. So you have to have everything, and then they check your equipment. So it has to be a certain amount of equipment, and then they check the comfort station, make sure the comfort stations are properly outfitted for.
And what's showing there is a big collaboration through multiple departments to be able to make sure that our beaches are open, because each department actually has a little bit of a separate role in it then too. So it's important for that collaboration going in to get to that certification. Chief Sarla, if you don't mind going through the next 2 slides.
Thank you. Yes, just to piggyback on David's introduction, this committee was formed during COVID, and it's been an essential piece of ensuring that we continue to maintain and operate our summer season ocean and bay beaches in a spirit of cooperation and collaboration amongst all town departments. I'd say our roadways and our beaches and waterways are the most heavily populated, heavily traveled, where most of our calls originate, and having everyone who's involved in either the parking, the safety, the planning, everyone involved in being on the same page is tremendous for how everything ends up running for the season. It's been one of the most positive things to come out of COVID, and we all appreciate the support that the town board gives the committee in accomplishing the tasks we need to keep the beaches safe. One of the major improvements we made a few years back is a program where most of our beach parking and some of the timed parking in downtown Montauk is now monitored by license plate readers. And we also have an app where people can pay to park. So we've seen a tremendous increase in compliance with beach parking in our parking lots and along the roadways that adjoin the beaches. It's It's been a tremendous improvement in efficiency for our traffic control officers who can now be redeployed to go to other areas and do other tasks instead of just having to continuously check those permits nonstop. It's also allowed us to trim back some of the hours of the staff seated through the Parks Department at some of the beachheads, and just a real boost to improvement, a modernization, and it helps ensure that spaces stay open for residents who have permits or people with non-resident permits, and it allows us to maintain a better control of the use of those access points and those essential parking spots, which are very valuable during the summer season. We continue to move forward towards, hopefully in the near future, working towards a unified command post headquarters somewhere in the Montauk Hamlet. We've discussed this group meeting and the needs that we have on a regular basis and how Montauk is our busiest hamlet and where we have the most remote operations. Our town police precinct is a little too small, a little too outdated to host the lifeguards, ocean rescue, either fire, EMS, and or other members of the town public safety committees to be able to have some home base out there in Montauk for the Montauk citizens and for the volume of work we have to do out there in the summer. So we continue to explore that as a possibility moving forward. There's increased demands on storage for the amount of equipment we all have, and just the need to have a place to be able to sit down and have a meeting or have a community member walk in. We feel that that's going to be an important piece of continuing to improve the efficiency moving forward for the community. Between May 15th and September 15th, we wrote a total of 4,200 parking tickets, 1,040 of which were issued for no beach permit in the parking areas. Just to represent Tim Treadwell's staff from the Marine Patrol, they provide law enforcement on our beaches with a focus on public safety, education, and the protection of our valuable natural resources. They have seasonal patrols 7 days a week until 2 a.m. or 4 a.m., depending on the staffing ability and the day of the week. Marine Patrol responded to over 600 calls for service on the beaches alone. They work closely with the lifeguards, Volunteer Ocean Rescue, Parks and Rec, and code enforcement to provide safety and share public information. They issued over 300 citations for violations of the town code pertaining strictly to the beaches. Approximately 46% of those pertain to beach driving violations, 21% for non-compliant beach fires, 8% for dogs on the beach, and 6% for camping. Other violations included littering, peddling, fireworks, and lack of other proper permits. They also do a lot of work in patrolling the permitted special events that are hosted on the beach to ensure compliance with the terms that the caterers or private members of the community are permitted and allowed to have on the beach at night during the summer after hours. They're key in patrolling those and making sure that they're following the guidelines that they're allowed to have when we give them those permits. Again, I just want to thank all the town board members, David in particular, for your heavily invested interest in making sure our bathrooms, our access points, our signage, our cooperation and coordination between all of the town departments. That's parks fixing the restrooms when they get damaged, making sure they're open for the public. That's making sure everyone has the resources they need to allow the public to enjoy our beaches as safely and efficiently as they can. We really appreciate everyone's support.
Thank you. And I also think it shows this to the supervisor's budget this year, and we've heard this out of the Montauk CAC and others over the most recent years about trying to put the proper staff and the public safety into the departments to be able to make sure everyone can enjoy themselves. Then too, that goes either to the budget for lifeguards, increased salaries, increased personnel in PD, also Marine Patrol, and that's why the supervisor's budget this year shows that public safety is the most paramount, and we're starting to see that, and it's being recognized by the residents also. So
yeah, we all really appreciate that. I mean, you all know that not only the volume of calls we respond to, but the level of patrol that's needed because of how many people are utilizing our beaches. We have 70 miles of shoreland. We have dozens and dozens of unmanned access points to the sand on the ocean and bayside, which are not the responsibility of the lifeguards or specifically for Marine Patrol during the beach lifeguard protected hours, but they're still heavily traversed. There's a lot of people using them, and it's our responsibility to ensure they're used safely, they're not littered upon, and that, you know, we have a presence in those areas as best we possibly can, and we really appreciate the support that you guys provide for us in that.
Well, I was talking last night, and when you really think about the uniqueness of what your jobs are in East Hampton, protecting the public, where you're not just dealing with a small increase in summer visitors, but a dramatic change in the town, particularly in the areas that you're talking about, our roads, our beaches. And it's really needs to be noted, the fine work you all do when you're talking about increasing 100,000. When you look at the numbers that you're presenting on the bathing beaches, and also shout out to David that also coordinates all of this. It really is phenomenal when you think about how we transform for that short season, but the volume increases so dramatically, and how everything operates smoothly. So I just wanted to note that out. Your statistics and what you're talking about really show that. And it is unusual here compared to other towns where you don't have this kind of influx, and you handle it so well. So I just want to thank all of you for that as well.
Yeah, and not specifically only related to the beaches, but I always like to use this opportunity as well just to thank our entire staff.
Yeah.
Who just are, from basically the week before Memorial Day until mid-October are nonstop on the run, call to call, overtime, reduced leave time, increased overtime, staffing changes, increased supervision, and it's on for that portion of the summer, and they do a really great job. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of our people in all the divisions that work underneath us for all the work they do in the summer as well.
Not even to mention large-scale events that happen that always need police help, that are thrown in at you constantly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Moving on, and for Steve O'Brien, who's our town building maintenance supervisor. Buildings and Grounds Department has a lot to do with our town beaches. The Parks Department swept town beaches by hand and also with tractors in the season to keep them safe and beautiful. The department was adequately staffed and scheduled and increased the number of beaches that they were raked. They added 6 this year as far as hand cleaning. Right now, up to 17 beaches, which is nearly miles of beach that they were cleaning for the residents on there. There was a decreased level of vandalism at the restrooms this year, and we knock wood. We believe that was because of the increased security measures that we had with increasing cameras through our capital budget plans, but also the collaboration working with Buildings and Grounds departments, particularly our custodial departments and PD and Marine Patrol, to shut some of those bathrooms off at the hours of vandalism, which is nothing good happens after midnight, as we hear. Right? Just so.
Sometimes it does.
Yeah, well, fair.
Those of us with kids, and nothing good happens after midnight.
The current beach rake apparatus is nearing its useful end, so we're going to be looking to that in our capital planning and making sure that that doesn't break down. So we'll be looking for that as we go into capital for 2026. This is very important. I want to thank Doug Salazar also for manning that. He comes in, Johnny, what time? John Rooney, 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah, he gets reformed.
Yeah, so to Doug, well done this summer. It's been great, and the staff that's out there then too. Building and Grounds Department repair and maintain 11 comfort stations for bathers, providing amenities such as the showers, bathrooms, water fountains throughout the season, and they're continuously be maintained and upgraded as we go forward. That's in the capital budget from last year. I want to thank our custodial staff, which actually works tremendously long hours then too, and the crews that go out there, and also our trash crews that picked up over 100 tons of trash off of our beaches this year. So I want to thank them very much too, and I thank Steve O'Brien for his work there. John, do you want to come forward? And actually, sorry, if you could go back, Chelsea. Neat picture on here, everyone. If you don't notice, this is downtown Montauk this summer, which I was happy to see Councilman Flight on a couple times this year, and enjoying himself for a little respite, which is always needed. This is actually of the FIP sand nourishment that we had. We flew these drones over pre-storm and also post-storm as part of our operational maintenance that we have to do with them. The beaches were big and wide, which you'll see in the numbers that we'll have at the end, why there was such a large increase of people probably at Kirk Park Beach and then also downtown Montauk beaches then too, because the beaches there were beautiful this summer and the weather was also. Thank you very much, John. And Chelsea, if we can go forward one.
Yeah, and also just in defense of Buildings and Grounds, we're all constantly contacting them with things that need attention as well. So, and that's random. So we just want to give just an idea of the scope of the participants we have in our different programs that we run during the summertime on the sand. We have our junior lifeguard program, and we also have a lot of swim programs. So as Johnny Ryan had mentioned, we had 23 cadets this year. That's 15-year-olds in a training program, and having another 23 like we did last summer, that gives us a lot of good reason to think that we're going to be having a lot of strong younger guards coming in into our program next summer, and that's a good thing for employment going forward and keeping our beaches safe. Our juniors, we have a large number. We have 321 juniors, and that's ages 9 to like 14. And our nippers that Johnny had also mentioned, we have 130 of those, and they're from ages 6 to 8. Young kids, and we have to train. Like, we're surrounded by water, we can't pull from like other towns, so we got to kind of train within. And then obviously Johnny was telling us about the beach guardians. The adults have wanted to get involved with having a similar type program, and you can see on your left that's a picture of the guardian program this summer. And as Johnny said, we anticipate that growing tremendously. We also offer free swimming lessons during the summer. They run for basically ages 4 and up. So we run them for 2 weeks at a time at different bay beaches, and they rotate. They start out at Havens Beach, then they go to Maidstone, they go out to Gin Beach, and also at Big Alberts during the summer. So we had 123 kids through the summer doing that. Chief Sarlo had mentioned Timmy Treadwell. Timmy Treadwell not only handles Marine Patrol, but he also runs our town open water swim training program. This is for adults. This is for more advanced swimmers over at Big Alberts. And sometimes folks who are like training for like triathlons, things like that. And it stands for TOUST, and we like to say, if you're not TOUST, you're toast. So, but Timmy runs that, and he does a great job. And we run 2 sessions. We've had about 27 in both sessions this year. And then we're always upgrading equipment, obviously each year. And this year we had to replace our ATV over at Indian Wells to get a new one, which we did through capital funding, and we will be putting it for more stuff for next year. So, and that's just basically a quick rundown of recreation.
Thank you, John. And I also thank your department for staffing the booths that are needed, some of our town beaches, specifically in Amagansett, but also noting what Chief Sarlo mentioned by us going and modernizing the LPR and paid parking systems. We're able to remove some of those personnel and put them into other locations, which is actually a budgetary savings in the budget that we had this calendar year. So thank you for working with that. Next slide. This comment came from the East Hampton Town trustees. They participate. Clerk Francis Bach. Francis Bach wanted to make sure that the town trustees wish to thank the department employees of the Beach Advisory Committee. Their consistent focus on safety and sanitary conditions of our public beaches provide world-class conditions to be enjoyed by our local users, as well as the thousands of tourists that visit each year. Our beaches are gems of East Hampton, and it wouldn't be possible without these hard-working teams. I want to thank the town trustees and the town, Francis Bach, for the collaboration with the town, not in just this committee, multiple other ones, including the special events committee then too. As we know, we have a special thing here, the town trustees, since the Dongan pattern was formed. We have a couple of recommendations for us to not necessarily have to discuss now, but we'll talk about it as we move towards 2026 from our committee. Lifeguards, wound packing and tourniquet kits were received late 24 and 25 season. These kits are deployed. And what we're looking for is to receive additional annual first aid training in their use. So again, more training to how to use these to our town lifeguards, again, makes our beaches safer if emergencies do happen. Dogs, pet owners, again, continue to fail to pick up their doggy bags, which we're consistently washing up on the high tide line. Dogs have often been, have often not been prevented from urinating in the area posts and lifeguard stands, and there's a conflict between lifeguards, lifeguard equipment, and lifeguards' personal property. Dog control and regulations for bathing beach has been discussed, let's be honest, for years, and will be needed to look at for potential updating in the 2026 season. Parking, The growing population of bathers are at lifeguard public beaches, and the lack of available parking locations, parking at these locations will have to be reanalyzed, where we can maybe add targeted parking. We've done that in downtown Montauk in some areas. We'll continue to look at that, and specifically a lot, as Chief mentioned, with the signage on there then too. John Ryan, John Rooney, do you want to go through these appendix slides, which I know they're on here pretty quickly with some of these numbers, what they say? And again, this is on the town's website for others to see, but it just, I think what it does, it shows just the large amount of individuals that we serve at our beaches during the summer season.
Yeah, you can see from that photo that David pointed out with the amount of beach in Montauk General District, that's Town Beach and also Kirk Park, and you can see where the numbers totally increased. There are 5 walkovers, South Edison, Kirk, and then there's 3 more in between those 2 that people generally walk over onto the beach, and they find themselves a nice spot. So we have 2 stands within that area, and we're looking to put a 3rd stand for the last walkover, which is right in the middle of Kirk and South Edison. So, and that should be able to be done with the same number of guards that we had this year, just spacing them out a little bit better. But if you look at the next, and then the other beaches, you can look at it, say Indian Wells, which is a family beach in Amagansett. It's not a lot of, maybe compared to South Edison and Atlantic and Kirk Park. It looks like almost half of some of those, but you got to also remember the parking area is a lot smaller. You can compare Indian Wells with Ditch Plains, because Ditch Plains has a smaller parking lot, about the same size, as a little bit smaller than Indian Wells, but they have 2 parking areas. They have East Deck and they have Indian Wells, and then some people will venture over to Dirt Lot and then walk down. So, that's basically not approximate number of bathers is going to come from the parking areas that we have at these protected beaches. You look at the next slide, you could see again, in comparison to the size of the beach grew in Montauk. So you can see that the one that is clearly shown in green is Town Beach. All right, that's South Edison, Kirk Park area also is an increase. And it all depends on certainly the weather of the summer, but seems to be a good one. Little drop in Atlantic Avenue, Atlantic Avenue's attendance, bather attendance. This is, as I mentioned before in the presentation, a number of rescues or responses that we went on. Versus protected and unprotected, with injury, we got injuries as well as injuries on top, and then rescues on the bottom. And you can see almost half of our, or half 50 rescues compared to 100 in the protected area. Was 50 of them were in the unprotected area, as mentioned before. Protected beaches, injuries, and rescues. This is basically by beach. One thing that comes, you look at Atlantic Avenue compared to Town Beach and Ditch Plains. It's very few. I contribute that to the success of our junior lifeguard program. These kids are being educated, and when you look at Indian Wells and Atlantic Avenue, those are local kids that come to those beaches, and not that we only rescue kids, but they're coming up through the program, and they're generally the ones that we are rescuing. But fewer rescues at Indian Wells and Atlantic Avenue is, as far as I'm concerned, is an indication that our success of our junior program education. When you look at Montauk, they have a smaller junior lifeguard program and NIPA program, and again, when you look at Montauk, it's more of people coming from out of town. You look at the whole Montauk district. Those people are pulling into Montauk. They're parking there. They're going right onto the beach. They don't have a clue as to what they're looking at in the water, and they get themselves into trouble. Injuries, can't control, we'll do our best to control injuries, but just shows by year, you look at ditch planes had a large number of injuries this year in 2025 in comparison to all other beaches. Surfing, rocks, jetties, those things can contribute to that. And then rescues at, again, at protected, another way of looking at it, at the protected beaches. And as well as you can't even see it, 1 or 2 rescues.
I want to thank Lieutenant Jeff Thompson also. Lieutenant Thompson does very well with collaborating with Chief Ryan, putting together all these stats. So we know on an annual basis where we have to deploy the assets of lifeguards, Marine Patrol and such, and to Lieutenant Thompson. Teacher not here necessarily right now, but he's always out there and about and answers these questions just like you do. So I thank you for putting the stats forward then.
Yeah, Chief Thompson is worth his weight in gold. He, spent a lot of time. He developed our webpage. Years ago, I remember getting a call from, I think it was from John, asking for a report that happened 2 years earlier for an injury at a protected bay ditch, happened to be ditch plains. This was when Chief McGeehan was the Montauk chief, and he was splitting the shift with Andrew Fogler, who was his assistant out there, because John would be off certain days. So I reached out to them and said, hey, I need this information. They're like, oh, it's probably in the logbook. I said, why didn't I know about this? And it was a little bit of a concern. I said, well, I should know about any kind of an injury rescue or on a daily basis. I should know this almost immediately that this has happened. So I went searching and I found all the information that was written up in a book and stored in a box on top. And I said, this can't be. And so I mentioned it to Chief Thompson, and Chief Thompson says, well, I got it. I was like, what do you mean you got it? He's like, I'll fix that. We'll have instant information because we can put this, we get rid of the paper pencil stuff. Not that we don't use paper pencils, still, we still do. But once we get back from taking that report of any rescue or EMS call, the guards come back, they go sit down at the table, they pull out their phone, they enter it on our town lifeguard website immediately into that, into our database of rescues and responses. And that stuff shows up as data, information that comes right up, and he could take that data and turn it into a graph like this.
There's a science to life-saving.
Right.
When I said use the data, follow the data points on there. So I want to thank all your staff, the ABCs, always swim near lifeguards. Let's be respectful of others, and let's clean up your litter on there. Very simple. I think it was a very nice, a very successful season. Chelsea could take that down again from 2025. I already look forward to season 2026 right now. To the town board members, we'll have our meetings in advance of 2026 season. We'll come to the town board, make sure that everyone's comfortable with what our beach operating plans are. We'll reapply for our permits this year. But again, to everyone, to the department heads here, Chief Sarla, thank you very much for all your assistance with this. I enjoyed the beaches this summer. I hope everyone else did. Madam Supervisor, thank you very much for your time and allowing us to present.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving right along. So Mark, we're going to have you up next to talk about the New York State Housing and Community Renewal Manufactured Homeowners Program.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Mark Morgan Perez here on behalf of OHCD to present New York State's HCR Move-In Program, which is a brand new program for cross mods. Cross mods basically are modular built homes, but they have features of stick built homes and are basically sort of a blend between traditional manufactured homes and site built homes with permanent foundations, pitched roofs, attached garages, porches, drywall interiors, energy efficient materials. So basically, they don't look necessarily like trailer homes, they look more like real single family stick built homes. And also what's important with this program is that they will, the goal is to have them appraise, finance, and be insured in the same way as traditional homes, so that people will qualify for standard mortgages rather than mobile home loans. Go to the next slide. Oh, there we are. Okay. No, that's fine. I just kind of went over that. Yeah, so just hang on just a second. Could you go to, yes, could you go to the next slide? Yes. So basically, East Hampton would apply, the municipality would apply as an applicant, and that would require board approval and formal authorization. Next slide, please. The subdivision's road and clearing were completed prior to the move-in New York application period. You know, there's a potential issue here because they don't want site clearing to happen beforehand, before they become involved, but actually the caveat is before the application is submitted. So on the one hand, that makes it sound like we're in a good position. On the other hand, some of you may be familiar with this bat window issue that we have, which could create potential timing issues with this process. So that's something that we're going to speak to HCR about, because on the one hand, our application could score better if the sites were cleared. On the other hand, their program requirements kind of specify that you don't do anything to the site after you apply, but we would kind of need to clear after application because of the bat window.
Otherwise, we lose a year.
Yeah, or otherwise we lose a year. So that's something we want to speak to HCR about.
Okay.
So we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so again, there would have to be a formal municipal resolution affirming that the town permits these HUD code cross mods without special use permits. So this is something that we could review with the town attorney and get into the details. Again, this is a very new program. It hasn't been rolled out before. So we're digging into how it could potentially work here, but there are issues that need to be addressed. Next slide, please. Yeah, so again, we seem to be in a good place from program readiness. Oops, I'm sorry, next slide. Oh, could you go back one? Sorry, back one. Sorry, my slides are off. Okay, well, anyway, we seem to be in a good position readiness-wise, but again, there is this potential issue with the bat window. I mean, the subdivision has been done. The program wants us to have at least 10 sites ready, and we have 16, so that works. And we also have the CHF program in place, and we're able to demonstrate need and capacity to do this. Let me see here. Could you go one forward? Municipal resolution. I somehow got my slides off. Okay, yes, go one past this, please. One past this, please. Okay, oh, this is important. So HCR is going to have a pre-qualified vendor list. We have to confirm that this will comply with the town's procurement policy, and East Hampton staff, that means me or Joanne, someone else in the OHCD office, need to obtain a New York State manufactured home retailer license, which is basically an 8-hour online course. So that's not really a heavy lift. Let's see, purchase and sale of cross mods. This is pretty straightforward. You know, we would work with HCR, we'd be an awardee, and we would sell the home to prospective home buyers who meet the income and eligibility standards. Next slide, please. This is the financing structure. These are deeply affordable. And that's one of the major benefits or potential benefits of this program. I mean, with the first Cantwell Court RFP, we were getting costs of, I think the lowest cost we received from Habitat for Humanity was just shy of $600,000 per unit. So now we're down at the $250,000 level. And that also includes site work. So there's a lot of potential benefits here. Next slide, please. And again, HCR, if we could accept it, would potentially pay the town a 6% developer fee. It really, again, from a financial perspective, seems like a win. But again, there are these caveats as to whether or not it's a good fit with town code and some other issues. Next slide, please. And this is another piece which, again, on the surface looks great. The idea of they want an average AMI across the 16 units of 100%, which I think is wonderful. I like targeting deeper affordability. On the other hand, we have our HOP list. And so how do we handle people on the list to achieve that income mix? The people on the list who come up first may be at different income bands and may not end up creating a 100% AMI average across the portfolio. So again, that's something that we can discuss with HCR and hopefully could work out. Next slide, please. So again, their program only has a 10-year affordability restriction. Again, I think we could negotiate with them and have it be much longer. That would be ideal. 10 years doesn't, to me, doesn't seem nearly long enough. Again, applications are accepted on a rolling basis. So again, we would need to get a resolution going if we wanted to move forward with this program. Again, OHCD is going to have some conversations with HCR and with planning to sort out some of these other issues to make sure that the program is a fit before moving forward. Let's see. And I think, yeah, that's pretty much the overview of the program. I wish I had more details. I mean, I would need a little more time to dig in to the particulars to make sure that it's a good fit. But definitely from an affordability perspective and from an implementation perspective, I mean, to be able to turn around these homes in 6 months, again, assuming the manufacturer has the capacity to produce 16 homes in 6 months, I mean, it would be a real win because most development projects, as you know, can take years. But this is one option. It's not the only option, but it's definitely one that we want to look into deeper and look into quickly.
Right. So basically what happened was David and I went to a meeting of the East End Supervisors and Mayors Association back in August, and a representative from New York State Housing and Community Renewal were there and started talking about this project because they had done some pilots in upstate New York. And we just learned when we went to the signing of the in Greenport from Sarah Lansdale that this RFA had gone online. It's, the target date is November 15th. We wanted to bring this to the board to see if, we would have to put together an application in order to see if we would qualify and be able to receive the 16 homes that would, for Cantwell Court, if that's a way we want to move forward. I happen to follow HCR on Instagram, and there was the governor recently took a tour. I mean, they're attractive looking homes. They were doing 3-bedroom, 2-bath, about 1,500 square feet. And on the Cantwell Court property, we were talking about having modest homes, 10% of each lot. And they are also doing all electric, from what I'm understanding, in this, which is something that we had the board had specified on the Cantwell Court project. So I guess what we're looking for, this is something that we would
recommend that we pursue, at least, throw our hat in the ring and answer the RFA and see if it's something that we could move forward with, because, a home in the $250,000 range is obviously something the folks on our list that are next up for a single family home could afford to get a mortgage on. And the beauty we have with the Community Housing Fund is that we would have the ability, if we were selected, we could lay out using the CHF funding to purchase those homes and then resell them to the folks who qualified and were on the next in line for a single family home.
And just to add on to Madam Supervisor here, at that meeting, the Suffolk County's Commissioner of Economic Development, Sarah Lansdale, it's a big thank you to bring her there. Yes. This might just be an opportunity for the town, if we decide to move forward on this, to try to bring affordability to our affordable housing. With Cantwell Court, which is 16 units right now, utilities are in, road work is complete right now, but we did find out that going out an RFP for builders was more expensive than we anticipated, or might be able to place individuals that they could afford. This option here would be able for us to develop a community there with great vernacular within an affordable price for everyone to use. They also could still go forward and add garages onto their accessory structure on there, but it's an option for the town board to look at here. But also there's a couple other outlier lots that we might be able to use this for too. Right. This meeting was on, I believe, the 15th. Yes. There is an rolling application that starts. One of the things we were told, be in the beginning of that rolling application, and you might have a better opportunity to be successful in the application. We do, I believe, have a strong application if we want to. I would recommend discussing this with Mark more often now to go see what the availability of cross mods might be. Do your homework online also. Some of them are quite beautiful. And then individuals, in the town can work together because the inside of them are quite beautiful. A manufactured home right now could have economics of scale, try to decrease that pricing on there, and also can be very attractive. Still, we're still going to work in parallel with another RFP for requests for builders, decreasing some of the insurance needs that we saw was maybe limiting on the first RFP for builders. We're going to still move forward on that. So I think we're going to try to move on a couple options to make sure that we get individuals placed as affordable as possible. So that's where we're, and that's why this came up at this time for timing on there too.
Yeah, I'd say, look, conceptually, I think this is a great opportunity for the town to pursue. One thing I would ask, are there any actual buildings out there of this type that the state has produced that we could go and inspect?
Schenectady.
Yes, and Schenectady, but okay. The thing is, I actually may be up in that region in early November and might be able to.
I'm actually going to be up there next weekend, so if you can provide me the address, I might swing by if we can. And I just like to see the quality of the build, to be really honest with you, because sometimes price comes with quality. The second piece is actually more for the town attorney's office regarding the back clearing window. Look, I've had people reach out to me, so I've done some research on this. I do think there's some nuances to this that we could potentially explore as to whether we can clear in that window through habitat assessment and other aspects, working with the DEC. My understanding is there is a possibility that we can if we work with those partners. So that's something, if we could actually have some research done and a presentation done as to, is there that possibility or not? And if there is that possibility, what is the mechanism by which we could do that? I think would be helpful, because this is something we're running into with numerous projects. But overall, yeah, I think this is a very exciting opportunity.
Right. Yeah, and just a small note, I mean, in keeping with Change Hampton's presentation today, again, this is also an opportunity to maybe implement some of the things that they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I'm interested in this as well. I think that as Dave said, the cost of these houses has appeared to be prohibitively expensive, frankly, to be affordable. So the price is appealing. I think Tom brings up a good point. The quality of the build is also very important, because we're doing this not for 10 years. We're doing this for a long time. So we want to make sure that the homes that go in. But I'm very interested. I think I'd ask your office to make sure to work with the attorney's office and planning or building, whoever's necessary to make sure that we qualify. And then I have one question for you. If we did apply, is it binding in any way, or can we apply and then decide if we wanted to accept if we were awarded?
That's a good question. I don't know, but we'll find out. Oh, sorry. No, the plan is to have a discussion with HCR ASAP to sort out these issues.
Wasn't there a webinar that they had?
Yes, we attended the webinar.
Great.
And one of the women who ran the webinar, Crystal Loeffler, is someone I knew from years ago upstate. So hopefully she'll be easy to reach out to.
Great.
So knowing our meeting schedule is a little bit changed in November right now, we have meetings on the 6th and I believe on the 12th now also. So town board members can discuss this internally and then also work with Mark and have more questions or even do site visits on there to hit that window if it's something that there's board support for. Let's just move this ahead in the next couple of weeks as it is a potential option for us, and we'll continue to work on other options in parallel too.
Yeah, and would these allow for basements, do you know? Another
It's a
question.
foundation and crawl
They can.
spaces. Oh, that's good to know.
Okay. So yeah, I'm supportive. I mean, I think Dave's idea, and Dave, this is your project. I'm enthusiastic about moving it forward. I think doing a few options in parallel so we know all of the choices. It actually seems like the bat clearing window is going to work out for us in this case, as long as it doesn't, violate any requirements of this, because the timing of construction, that bat window falls sort of in when all of this would be happening. So yeah, would love to do our due diligence, make sure we would qualify for this program, and then look at all of our options and move forward with the best one. And I also, if you are upstate, I would very much, as Tom said, you have great experience in housing. You've seen a lot of affordable housing. The quality is important. So if you're up there, I'd love to have your feedback about what they look like in person.
Yeah, and be clear that this option for this cross mob is brought on because Kathy had that meeting with Sarah Lansdale then too. So the supervisor brought this forward as great options for this. And this might be something we see on this one project, but it could be used for years to come, even past us on there then too. So well done.
And on a related note, my understanding is that these are what are referred to as two-section homes. I asked on the webinar if these could potentially be used as ADUs in the future, and they said they were potentially considering one-section models, which again, could end up being very low-cost ADUs, but not just yet.
Thank you, Mark.
Great. Yeah, I know from meeting with the governor back in August, her and I had a one-on-one, and we talked a lot about housing. We talked about this program specifically and ADUs, so I wouldn't be surprised if they came forward with an ADU plan.
And I look forward to more information. I support moving forward on digging into this and any other type of program that you come across that can help us with housing affordability.
Great. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Next up is John Barley Dunn for an agriculture update.
Barley, clams on the half shell, a little cocktail sauce there.
Oh, I didn't know we were
Oysters.
having that.
What do you think about that? It's lunchtime.
Yeah, if I'd known it was.
Yeah, samples would be good, Barley.
Adult beverage.
There you go.
Now we're talking.
Hot coffee. I mean, that's
There you go, too, right?
Are you now finding the presentations up there?
Yeah, it looks like the wrong one. Okay, we're gonna have to skip the presentation. Sorry.
Well, wait, I'm sorry, I could.
Visuals.
What do you, all of the slides aren't up there?
It's the wrong one.
This is the only thing that was
Somehow.
uploaded isn't the right.
Can you look
I'm
up?
sorry, the only thing uploaded was what?
It's not the right one. Apparently, this is what was on the computer. It's not the right.
It's not this?
That's what was uploaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what we.
That's what we have?
That's
The
what,
right one.
Ooh.
I must have saved it incorrectly yesterday. So we have to skip that. That'll take eons to get through.
okay.
Well, Barley, how about we
It was
do this,
really
and then-
just-
and then we'll also have you back then, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do
It was
that.
really just photos, backdrop. All right, so thanks for having me. Good afternoon. First of all, a quick background for those that aren't aware, the town has a aquaculture shellfish hatchery program. There's still some folks in town that aren't aware of that. We've been established in the late 80s in Montauk in response to the brown tide that really wiped everything out back in the mid 80s.
I had a really cool historic anybody who's, I'm not a history buff, but the history of Montauk is amazing, as we all know. Had some great pictures of the Fort Pond area. You know, there was a quarantine camp there. Christopher Walsh wrote an article recently and had an amazing picture of the Carl Fisher building sticking up out of the soil of Montauk with nothing around it. Really amazing history. And thankfully, that guy lost all his money, because if you could just imagine what Montauk would be like if it was the Miami of the North. But anyway, I digress. We have multiple growing sites. We have a hatchery in Montauk. We have nurseries in 3 Mile Harbor. We have a field grow out site in Napeague Harbor. We have overwintering sites in Northwest Creek and Pond of Pines, which is right next door to Napeague. The why do we grow shellfish? There are filter feeders. They help filter the water. They sequester excess nitrogen, excess nutrients. They provide habitat. They provide food for us. It's a sustainable practice. We're trying to help maintain the commerce and culture in East Hampton. So what we grow is hard clams, eastern oyster, and bay scallop. Every year we grow millions of these things to restock our harbors. And the idea is to start early. We start spawning in February. We finish up our spawning in around June, grow them as large as possible, as quickly as possible, and then seed them out onto the bottom this time of year. So the idea is to get them as large as possible so that when we do seed them, they actually survive. But there's going to be a caveat to that, unfortunately. We produce seed maps every year that are available online. So anybody with a shellfishing permit can go out and harvest these things up. It takes about a year for oysters to reach harvest size, 3 to 5 years for clams, and only 1 year for scallops if they survive. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So this year, clam and oyster production was solid as usual. They are of the 3, they are the easiest. We have about 2 million oysters that we're seeding now, and those average about 2 inches. So that's well past the typical predator refuge size. Again, I'll talk about that in a second. We do a good problem to have is we have excess oysters sometimes in the spring, and we sell those to Long Island farmers. Sold about 2 million of those. So any of you that follow,
there was an increase in that revenue line in the budget this year.
Yeah, that was about $80,000 worth of seed sales. Good little chunk of change. So any of you that follow our local drone photographers might have seen pictures of the cow-nosed ray. This is an animal a fish that showed up back in 2019, and it's been showing up annually ever since. And 2019, coincidentally, was also the year that the bay scallop die-off, the recent bay scallop die-off started. So immediately we blame this cow-nosed ray because they're a 40, 50-pound fish that swims around and just sucks stuff up off the bottom. They eat 10% of their body weight a day. So we immediately were like, well, it's the cow-nosed ray. Turns out it was actually a parasite, which I can talk about in a second, but the cow-nosed ray is now wreaking havoc on our oyster seed. So a few weeks ago, I went out and looked at some of our seeding areas off Will Curl in 3 Mile Harbor, the Dolphin area in 3 Mile Harbor, and the seed that we had just dropped was nowhere to be found. It was like a crumb trail, literally chips of shell. Originally, I thought, well, crabs just came in and wiped everything out, but it turns out that it's more likely cow-nosed rays. So this is going to be a new issue for us. They're here because of warm water. They generally reside down south. Showed up in 2019, following those warm waters and that food up. So they're probably going to be an annual occurrence, but generally they leave this time of year. So basically what we're going to have to do is delay our seeding until they skip town, until they snowbird it and head back south where they belong. So that's a new issue. It's very disheartening, obviously, because a lot of oysters were wiped out. On the clam front, we have about 6 million clams that we're seeding, and we're starting that now. Again, waiting as long as possible so that most of the predators, as the water cools off, predators slow down, they bed into the bottom. As you probably know, we overwinter about 1 million clams every year. And as you probably remember, last winter was like a proper winter where we had a pretty good amount of ice, and we lost a lot of those overwintered clams because that ice dragged the clam bags around. So hopefully we are or go back to a no ice winter, and we'll have much better clam survival. So bay scallops, on the other hand, are continuing to be an issue. We had great hatchery production. We moved several 100,000 scallops to our nursery this summer, but they subsequently just slowly but surely died off throughout the summer. So we had only about 40,000 left, which is an embarrassing number. We recently received a donation from Cornell Cooperative. They had a mixed stock of Peconic, Moriches Bay, and Martha's Vineyard scallops. And those Moriches Bay and Martha's Vineyard scallops seem to be resistant to the parasite that's wiping out our scallops. So hopefully what we'll do is we'll spawn them next year and hopefully bring this thing back. I'm confident that the scallops will make a comeback because there are survivors every year from the parasite, and those will produce their own resistant strain. Like I said, the Moriches scallops and the Martha's Bay scallops seem to be resistant to this new coccidium parasite that's wiping out our Peconic scallops. So that said, the harvest season for this year is looking pretty bleak. There are potentially pockets of scallops in town like there usually are. Let's let the folks find those out. Let me give you a hint though, look for habitat, because that's the crux of the issue. And the Change Hampton presentation was a good lead into this. They're planting these beautiful gardens out there, adding a third dimension to our otherwise barren landscape. And that's basically what's happening in our harbors. There's really no habitat, but there is codium. That's that new kind of noodly looking seaweed. It's not new, it's been around since the 50s, but that's an invasive. And that's a second best habitat to the eelgrass, which is virtually non-existent out here. Let's see, what else? The oyster gardening program is going strong with over 100 gardeners at our 5 garden sites. We have about a dozen folks that are growing oysters off their own dock. So if anybody has a dock or a bulkhead or those in the lake that have underwater land, you have the opportunity to grow oysters. We had our annual oyster tasting contest, saw many of you there. That was at the Amagansett American Legion a few weeks ago. So basically what we do is we taste and rate the oysters from all of our gardens because oysters taste different based on where they're grown. It's called merroir as opposed to the wine industry's terroir. And Napeag took the overall trophy for taste and salinity, while Hog Creek had the sweetest oyster. So those of you that eat oysters, come to us next year for a tasting, or obviously go out and harvest up oysters and enjoy them on your own. Shell recycling, we have a shell recycling program going, partnered with our ARM, South Fork Sea Farmers. A whole bunch of volunteers are involved. Basically, we have about a dozen restaurants on the East End that we collect shell from, and we use that shell to grow oyster reefs, or to establish oyster reefs. And we've established 4 reefs in town over the last 4 years. There's 3 in Accabonac, 1 in 3 Mile Harbor. 3 Mile Harbor one was just established back in June, and it looks great. It's right at the end of Boatyard Lane, right next to Paddle Diva, one of our other partners. Go to the end of that little road, take a look to the left, you'll see the reef at the low tide. Let's see, as usual, we host many tours, school groups, SOFA Marine Camp comes, Rewild, thank you, Gloria. That was started last year with Gloria's Rewild group. Got a great group of volunteers that come by. Hopefully we'll set them up with their own oyster cage next year, and they'll grow some oysters on the side too. We do seeding events. We partner with Surfrider, Paddle Diva, David Cataletto's group. Really trying to ramp up surveys, which involves getting in the water, and that's one of the things that Rewild helped us with. So there's really 2 types of surveys. There's dropping a square onto the bottom and digging it up to survey for clams because clams burrow, or there's just visual surveys where we swim along a transect, count all the scallops and oysters, and then tabulate those. We're trying to do more and more of those to really get some numbers behind our seedings and the effectiveness of the seedings, and also to assess, the scallop survival and the potential harvest. And we're going to partner with the Peconic Estuary Program and Stony Brook, Southampton and really next year ramp up those surveys even more with their technical assistance, diver assistance, and some funding. Staffing is great. We have Lucia, Ava, Venetia, Jeremy, Sam, and Adam out there. Lucia or Ava and Venetia are part-timers. They're gonna finish up in October. And this summer we had Layla, Max, Ewan, and Christian. Hopefully they'll be back next summer. And I'm currently working with a high schooler from East Hampton named Matthew Chuya, and he's working on some seaweed projects that we're partnering with up at the nursery. That's pretty much it for me.
Well, Barley, I've always said to the town board over the years is that you're the only department out of our 25 departments that actually grows something, grows living organisms, and by the millions on there is pretty impressive for what you do, specifically in the aging infrastructure that you're doing it in right now. So we'll continue that forward momentum. I remember from the Fisheries Advisory Committee a couple of years back, one of the former members, I think Charlie Nichols, whose family actually scalpers in Northwest Creek, mostly in that area. They always stated that one of the major issues was pre-emergence in the areas around the shorelines, getting in and killing off eelgrass. So that is something, as was already mentioned now twice in this meeting, is maybe something the town board might want to look at on there. Because as we look at how can we protect our water quality and layers, one of them might be trying to reduce or stop using pre-emergence with a certain travel time to it. And maybe that would help some of the rebounding. But it's great to see that you're partnering with Cornell and others to find other variants of scallops that might not be so affected to the parasite, that also might be able to bring back that traditional bounty and harvest that we had out here for years. So I know, like myself and others, scallops are tasty as anything, but it's always a harbinger to climate change, global warming out there. When we see some of these, we've heard it before, these keystone industries out here right now changing on there then too. So thank you, Barley, for that then too.
Thank you. Yeah, I am confident. I think they'll be back. And, you know, back in 2014 was one of our last great harvests, and that was in Napeague, where there's really no habitat, but they were just so dense that they made it to harvest season. So I think we'll see that again. I am confident.
So Barley, the clown-nosed ray and the emergence here, so you said you are looking for it to go back to its habitat down south. So obviously that's another impact of the climate crisis, where we're seeing these invasive species come up and impact our ecosystems up here. So that's all interesting as we put together all the impacts that the town is facing right now. It's interesting information. On another note, I just want to say, attending the oyster tasting and shucking at the Legion was so interesting to see not only the benefits of the oysters as food, and again, multiple benefits as they help filter our waters, but also to see a community arise from all the sea farmers that we now have, and the camaraderie and the competition, I must say. Everyone guessing, you know, which A, B, C, or D, oh, that's ours, or what bay it came from. But that expansion of community is such a great benefit of that program too. People who never were oyster farmed in their lives or never even thought about it, really enjoying the whole aspect, all the aspects of it was really enjoyable to see. So it's like benefit plus benefit plus benefit of this program. It's really win-win.
Great group of people. They're a lot of fun.
Really great.
Fair amount of kids. It'd be great to see more kids involved. But
there were kids though that were
there.
Nick Cooper was there, right?
That were shucking.
Even so, we were talking to one of the oyster farmers, and she's like, "I got my son off the couch, off his screen, and you know he's helping with their, their garden."
Yeah.
What table was Accabonac? So our table was Napeague.
A was Napeague.
A, yeah.
So
the one Big Peter was at. We put him there. We put him there specifically because the Napeague oysters were so big.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah.
He was great at checking.
Barley, I appreciate kind of the concept of finding new species that are able to cope with the warmer waters, because, you know, as much as we do, that element is coming. But just kind of looking back a little bit, you know, I wasn't aware of the brown tide incident in the 80s. If you could just talk to, like, what was the driver of that, you know, and how do you see the aquaculture program really address that issue at that time?
Yeah, so, everything was pretty well robust into the 80s. There were 400 baymen in East Hampton making a living on the water. And then in the mid-80s, this brown tide, a toxic brown tide called Oreococcus anaphygeferens, swept really the whole East Coast. It was an East Coast-wide phenomenon. And it was toxic algae that none of the shellfish ate. It reached such a density that the water, instead of looking green like it does now, it was brown like coffee. So it shaded out all the eelgrass. A lot of the shellfish starved, especially the bay scallops that are much more prone to water quality issues. And so the harvest plummeted to 20% of what it was before this brown tide. So a lot of the hatcheries that exist now, us, Islip, hatcheries along the whole East Coast were established to start to repopulate shellfish populations in their subsequent harbors, with the idea that they're going to filter the water, sequester these excess nutrients. So the idea behind harmful algae blooms like the brown tide is that they feed on excess nutrients that are being washed into the waters from our fertilizers, predominantly our fertilizers and our septics. So they're utilizing these nutrients to grow their shells and their meats, hence sequestering them. And actually, by removing the shellfish and eating them, then we're actually actively removing those nutrients from the water. So that's why growing shellfish is so important.
So it was driven by degrading water quality from fertilizers and septic. Okay.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And luckily, brown tide, it really hasn't occurred out here really since then.
But we have the red tide.
We have
had
the
red tide.
rust, yeah.
And we have the warming of our waters from climate change as well, and the acidification, which impacts our shellfish production as well.
And the warming that brings in the cow nose rays. But one benefit, one slight anecdote, I'm on Peconic Bay all summer, and I didn't see rust tide in Peconic Bay at all this summer, partially because of the drought. So kind of partial to droughts to a certain extent, because the drought, the rain, when it rains, it washes all that stuff into the water, and that's what prompts these algae blooms. So maybe I missed it, but I saw no rust tide in all the Peconics this summer.
Yeah, I didn't hear of any this summer, but also I'm sure that the reefs you're creating and the oysters and the shellfish that you're seeding is having an impact.
Sure, yeah, that's the notion. And plus, and in the Peconics, there's oyster farms. In our town waters, I always like to equate the trees and the bushes and the flora that we grow. We know that they provide habitat and they help clean the air, but we don't necessarily go out there and measure it, right?
Yeah.
We just know that it's a fact. You can see it. You can see the habitat production with your own eyes, and we know for a fact that a group of trees is going to help clean the air. But like I said, we're not out there necessarily measuring it, but we know that it's having a benefit.
The town of East Hampton is lucky to have you, Barley.
Thank you.
And I'm
Lucky to be here.
you didn't answer, where are those scallop sets?
So can we just say, funny story, we have monthly department head meetings, and we do like a warm-up kind of icebreaker question to start. And the question to the department heads a few months back is like, which department head would you want to change places with? And Barley by far was the department head that other
Everybody wants to be on a
department
boat.
heads wanted to change places with.
Yeah.
So, thank you for all you do,
Thanks.
Barley.
Have a good rest of the meeting.
Okay, so next up, we are going to be talking about our recreational facilities. So we have a number of recreational facilities. We've been expanding on the Honorable Fred Thiel facility over in Stephen Hans Path. We've also got projects in the pipeline for the Terry King Ball Field. So I think what we wanted to do was just kind of go through. We're going to be getting ready for the 2026 capital plan. We have started engineering on some projects, and we wanted to bring this to the board and have, a discussion on how we move forward here. So thank you for queuing this up, Chelsea. So you want to take it from here, David?
So working with the supervisor, we very much successfully co-parented and brought forward changes to generational changes to the town's recreational facilities, and specifically working with the Little League Ball Field Relocation Committee at Stephen Hans Path. That also working with the supervisor, and when she assisted with bringing forward the Montauk Skate Park changes there, then too, recreation's on the forefront. Well, a lot of individuals out here, because as much as we like to work, we like to play also. What I wanted to do is, Kathy and I have been discussing this about two historical contexts of two of our larger major recreational facilities, one being at Abraham's Path, and then the other being at the Honorable Fred Thiel facility. As you'll see on the screen here, this is actually the Abraham's Path facility. You'll see the, not named at that moment, but very shortly after, in 1970, the Terry King ball field that was there. This area here, and what you don't see in right field, there's a square box, and that would actually be where the comfort station is, but you'll see that next. So as a historical context, we're looking at the evolution of recreation at these facilities. So this is in 1970. Next, please. As we draw down by 1978, you're starting to see the town install the comfort station there, which means the current comfort station there, which we're looking to update, has been there nearly 50, has been there 50 years. You'll also start to see the basketball court, tennis courts, and also parking that was added in that location in 1978. When we move forward one more, what you're starting to see in 1984, and the only reason I did this is that you'll see in the other recreational, major recreational facilities which are privately done, currently Sport Time now to the left. But if you look at the road to the bottom left there, that's called Thomas Avenue. That's where I learned how to ride my bike. So why it's important to me when my dad cut that street and built that street, and I don't know why it's called Thomas Avenue, not David Lane or Diana's Way or whatever it is, a little jealousy. I walked with my dad and he taught me how to play tennis over there. And lo and behold, there is actually a banner on the East Hampton High School wall that my tennis team, I participated in one in 1994. I want to thank Coach John Goodman, who should be in the East Hampton High School Hall of Fame also. Next, as we move forward into 2004, what you start to see is the a skating rink that was going into the facility. There was an external skating rink that was added. And as we move forward into 2007, that was then turned into an indoor facility, which is very, very popularly used right now for multiple sports also then too. From 2000, and you see the parking was expanded also. From 2007, this goes to 2016, which I thought was a wonderful look at how to look at the 4 tennis courts, in which they became more active for the user groups, in which they turned into 2 volleyball courts and then 2 tennis courts in 2016. Next. What that brings us to is the conversation in 2024 where we're at. That's how our current recreational facility looks at the current time right now, which we have 2 volleyball, 2 tennis, a basketball court. We have a wonderful baseball facility, softball facility, Terry King Field, and our indoor sports multi-use rink. Next. Why do I mention this? It's because pickleball. Sorry, all that to Kathy till we finally get to pickleball. Town of East Hampton has multiple pickleball courts. We have the 3 in the top right at the Montauk Playhouse. We have restriped the tennis courts over by the Springs SYA building. And also, I want to thank the supervisor and the town board for supporting adding 2 brand new outdoor pickleball courts in the top left, the only 2 dedicated ones at South Erie and Montauk, Hamlet down over there by the courts. Yeah, do you? There you go. Yeah. So we have capital. We then went to engineering and the capital budget for 2 things at this facility. Next, if you don't mind, would be for adding 3 brand new pickleball courts in the location, that's set here. This engineering has already been completed, and we're looking to go out to construction on that. The area is tight with septic systems. They do line up, so they're not directly east-west on there. We would like to put some shade shelters on there also, but it would be 3 outdoor dedicated pickleball courts in the hamlet of Amagansett at one of our major recreational facilities. Another one, please. What this shows here is in combination with that, and yes, we did reject an RFP recently, as the town board is aware, to expand the aging and non-ADA design compliant, thank you, restroom facility, the comfort station. So we're going to be doing that. Also adding a pad for a storage building so we can have recreational gear and buildings and grounds equipment stored there as this area continues to progress and move forward to in our major recreational facilities. So I wanted to bring that to the town board, that this is what the scope of it is. I've sent this to some, and I've gotten comments from some of the pickleball clan. I remember what did the governor say when she came and visited us. She said that's a pretty intense group of pickleball players out there in Montauk, but they're all around and individuals travel far and wide. So this is one that's ready to go out to construction, and it'd be nice to see if we can get this up and going the next couple of months as we get the RFP together. But again, it's one of those needs that have been requested by a large amount of people, and one of those offerings that the town of East Hampton now can offer our residents for recreation by adding these 3 pickleball courts, ADA compliant, and new restrooms, because hence, I think we've got our use and our useful life of that restroom for being about 50 years old now. I thank you for that, and we'll go on. Kathy, I know you're going to present next.
We wanted to talk about this, the Honorable Fred Thiel Recreational Facility over on Stephen Hans Path. What you see here up in the upper right corner is the CDCH building. And then below we had two soccer fields, and we had 2, I guess, volleyball courts that were there. And that was the configuration when we were approached in 2017 or 2016, 2017 by the Southampton Hospital to be able to, they wanted to site the freestanding emergency department. We had looked at moving they preferred the site here on Panago Place. It was centrally located, but we had our 2 Little League ball fields there. So we had an arrangement with the hospital where we moved the Little League ball fields to the Stephen Hans Path location. And one of I remember, and former Supervisor Larry Cantwell's here in the audience, when we first went to meet with the Little League board back in 2016 at the Spring School Library. They were completely on board with reciting these fields, but they wanted to make a deal with us that they wanted those fields upgraded. They wanted to have the artificial turf, ensure that the lights were going to be there, batting cages. So that was a real improvement, and we see a lot of play over there because of it. So Chelsea, terrific. You get to the next slide where you see the 2 Little League ball fields that have been configured and how we expanded parking. We upgraded to an AI system there, because it had such a busy facility. And Chelsea, if you get to the next slide where we can see where we've put in the multipurpose field. I know I had an opportunity to go to homecoming there. It was a tremendous community event where hundreds of families and kids showed up, marching bands, the whole 9 yards. And it's a ball field, multi-purpose ball field that gets a lot of play. But now we had also gone out for engineering in this year's capital plan to expand again the pickleball. And what you see here is 8 pickleball courts that are sited in between the grass soccer field.
Chelsea, just go back one.
You see here, cited here, we have the grass field, and then we have the 8 pickleball courts, and then the multi-purpose field. And that is right, kind of, you can see in gray where we have a walkway to the comfort station.
So just adding what the supervisor is, in discussions also with John Rooney, Superintendent of Recreation, and also what I always like to say, the Deputy Superintendent of Recreation being Tim Garneau, who's spectacular. What's the conceptual plan here and what's the next steps? One of the things that we saw was that there was a request for greater amount of parking and then also for potentially basketball. So as the supervisor mentioned, we are already into engineering, and I look forward to getting to construction very shortly on these pickleball courts that are here, maybe a shade pavilion, and also working with a pathway that would go down to the playground in this area, which is needing an upgrade, serviceable now, need for upgrade, and again, we can make that an ADA accessible sensory playground as discussed by other committees. So what do we do? Let's play a little bit of pretend. Let's play a little bit what's needed. One thing that the supervisor and discussed, if we go one more forward, is a need for centralized parking. The centralized parking and additional parking is potentially getting another 40 spots where the current volleyball courts are. Those volleyball courts get well used. One of the options is then to put more parking in volleyball to the western edge of the current multipurpose location. So we can potentially look at adding another 80 parking spots, 2 brand new volleyball courts. If we wanted to, we could get a basketball court into the location. Remember, basketball, out of all these sports that are there, it's the only sport that one person is needed to play. So if you have a child playing if you have a child playing baseball, but the other child wants to go shoot hoops, go for it, son or daughter. And then you also have the playgrounds. So what we're trying to think is, what would the town board potentially like us to see as we move forward into potential engineering and answer the questions that when we go up to these sporting facilities, what's next? Pickleball parking is there, but if we do more parking, we're going to have to address where we're going to do the new volleyball courts, which are widely used by portions of the
It need to be resurfaced anyway.
Correct.
There's cracks that are showing, and when we walked through there last week, do you remember the last time that they were serviced?
John, I'm going to say, I think they're original from 2000.
They were original. They have not been redone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did the basketball court and tennis courts at the SY8 building and the basketball at Montauk at the skate park most recently. But this is on the near list to do so. So the timing of it might be great to be able to completely redo them, but at the same time look for parking, because as many of us have now gone up to the Little League ball fields, which sometimes you might get 300 people up there, multi-generations. There's more parking that's needed there into the multi-purpose field. So these are a couple conceptual plans that Kathleen and I have been working through. We just wanted to present it to the board to see any thoughts here of what's next, and if we're tending to a right direction for locations on there to the board. And that's what Kathy and I wanted to discuss with you.
Yeah, look, I'm supportive of this. Parking is key here, and I think we've discussed that conceptually. Adding 40 parking spots is great. We do as we did at the Friday night homecoming game. If it's dry enough, we have the ability to park on that grass soccer pitch. But, potentially we could see larger crowds. And my first question would be, is 40 spaces enough to add to this? So that would be kind of one piece. In terms of the pickleball courts, look, it's a no-brainer. We've had holdups elsewhere with regards to delivering pickleball courts to the community. So I think this would be great to see these added here. Volleyball is fantastic. So I think this is great how this is evolving. It's a bit of a red herring, but I think as we're looking at this site, the one thing that does keep getting mentioned to me by the public is, what are we doing with the CDCH building? And that's something I would love us to kind of really have a round table and put something in there sooner rather than.
Agreed. And we can, now that we've done updates on that. Also, by a little bit of the design here is there's a lot of municipal land there, which Kate had mentioned before last night. The town doesn't have a lot of municipal land. So what this does, it keeps everything tight. So there could be future expansion as generational needs are brought up also then too.
Yeah, I'm fully supportive of additional recreational facilities and the parking needed at this location. As this evolves, it really becomes a hub for recreation. And what I like about it, and that's something we're looking at Abraham's Path as well, you can have generational family members doing different things, but everybody enjoying each other in the same place. So I support going forward on this.
Yeah, I do as well, and I think the pickleball courts, I'm going to hear about pickleball needs a lot, so I think that's a great addition. I think the basketball court is great. Obviously, we need more parking there. My only question would be, I don't know if there's been a cost analysis of what it would cost to do the volleyball courts in place versus moving them. I'm sure that you've looked into that, and this I think from a planning standpoint makes more sense, but If it would save a lot of money, I think you could shift parking perhaps behind the field. It wouldn't make as much sense for Little League, so it's probably a bad idea. I'm just voicing it because it's a consideration.
Part of it is just separating the different user groups, because we're hearing, I've gotten some calls that we need more parking for the Little League ball fields.
Right.
I think we'd also probably put in more handicap spots, because some of the folks, as David mentioned, are multi-generational that are coming to see their grandkids play. I think that we needed to, it's kind of like, it's like a master plan is what we're looking at for recreation at this facility. And it probably makes more sense to have different sections and, create additional parking closer to the two fields that are getting the most use, and bringing the biggest audience, fans, and that's the two Little League ball fields and the multipurpose field.
I think there's an audience for pickleball too, so.
Yeah, I think that's less, those are the folks that are playing as opposed to.
I think, you raised something that kind of is a knock-on effect here, which we might also want to consider, which is that, with the growing popularity of events here, do we have enough public bathrooms? I know the condition of that public bathroom has sometimes been a concern to the public because it gets a lot of use. And so is there scope as we do this to potentially add more public bathrooms as well?
We can definitely look into that, yeah. This is a little bit of an a la carte thing, if you want to say. What have we heard since we've added these pieces together on there? And all of those could look into, because there's not just going to be that, there's power infrastructure that goes to inciting on them. We'll look into that too, Tom. Again, none of this is engineered. This is all just conceptual. And that if the board is seemingly in almost supportive of wanting to maybe go this way, right, Madam Supervisor, we'll put some more time and effort and energy into it.
Yeah, and the other question it raises, right, so the Little League ball fields and the multi-purpose field are lit. Do we also want to look at lighting the pickleball courts and or the volleyball courts in order to, because, we've had some mild winters where, you could be playing pickleball in December, but, it's dark at 4:30, 5 o'clock. So you would be able to expand, opportunities for folks to, to recreate here if we added lighting as we expanded the park.
I think that would be smart.
I agree.
Yeah, particularly when you're losing other recreational outdoor opportunities as it gets darker, so you become limited. I think that makes sense. And since it's lit and since the infrastructure exists also, it makes sense.
Well, I'll continue. I'll check with the engineers on that one then too, because there might be hurdles to that. But again, it's only a hurdle. It's not a stop. This is a good conversation onto the future of recreation. I think one of the greatest things that you've done as Supervisor Kathy is you've supported this in increasing recreation throughout the whole entire township since you've been on the board. I know the whole town board has done that also, but we wanted to make sure this got in front of everyone. And now that we're sort of there, Kathy and I, myself, will go to work. John Rooney, do you have anything to say here as far as superintendent? Any comments? John, you want to just come to the?
Well, again, just really excited for it, obviously. I just love when there's more recreational opportunities for every aspect of the public. Also, as David had mentioned, the basketball, like someone who's by themselves can now do something. And the other thing that wasn't mentioned, it's also another plus, is this has been expanding the ADA accessible walking paths. And people go to this facility every day, just walking around the ball fields, walking around, it just keeps expanding that as well. We've been doing that throughout the town. So that's another user group, so.
Well, thank you. So with that, there'll be more to come on this, but I wanted to make sure I was on everyone's radar as we progress forward. Then too. Thank you for your time.
Chelsea, would you mind staying to put up the map for our last topic, which is the proposed stop signs in Hans Creek Farm? It should be, it's not on the desktop.
Can she open the town's website?
Does it work if you go on to work session materials? So let me just start. So I was outreached by folks from the Hans Creek Farm neighborhood asking for the installation of stop signs in there, and they had, a proposal, and when I drove around that neighborhood, I came back and we looked at the 3 proposed stop signs. The first is at the intersection of Timberline Road and Cordy Court. The second is at where Cordy Circle intersects with Cordy Court, and in 2 locations. That some folks felt like that was like a racetrack in there, the way that the subdivision was laid out, and that it would be safer and made more sense to have those 3 proposed stop signs. I forwarded the request to Steve Lynch and Kevin Cobb in the Highway Department. They were both supportive, and forwarded it to Chief Sarlo, who also agreed that it would be wise to include these 3 stop signs. So what I'd like to do is at the next public hearing, at the next meeting, which I believe is November 6th, notice for public hearing these 3 proposed stop signs. There it goes. Oh, thank you, Chelsea. There we have it. So you could see, so Timberline Road comes off of Hands Creek Road. It's a subdivision with about 75 homes, and would just add to public safety if we had those 3 stop signs. So if everybody is supportive of taking this to public hearing, I'd like to notice it on November 6th and then hear it on November 20th.
It does look like a Formula One track. I'm supportive.
I'm supportive as well.
All right, beautiful. So we'll do that. All right, so that wraps up our 7 work session topics today. And now we can go on to liaison reports. I just want to let, if board members, if we could do maybe more abbreviated liaison reports today. We have a very robust exec session too, and I know we're almost 3 hours into this work session.
Yeah, I'll go as fast as I can here. The Amagansett Citizens Advisory Committee. Firstly, I just want to mention the passing in September of Elaine Jones of Amagansett, who is the founder of the Amagansett Concerned Citizens that later became the CAC, and thank her and her family for their incredible commitment to this town. The discussion last night focused on about 7 different topics. The first and kind of the most vocal of which was the blocking vista on Further Lane. The residents really wanted a stronger understanding of why the town is not enforcing the easements on that property. I've told them I will be reaching out to the relevant departments of natural resources and planning to understand that better. But that is something that's causing significant concern.
Do we want to hear to Jake? Did you want to? Is there any comment you wanted to make?
No, not at this time. I've spoken with Councilman Flood about this issue, and I think it's best if we go back to the planning department and natural resources and look at exactly what it is they are seeing.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Tom, sorry.
Thank you. Next up was discussion around the proposed changes to the agricultural site plan process. Really that focused on just kind of, informing people as to, look, this is a very early stage recommendations that have come through to the planning board, and there will be absolutely an open forum for public discussion on that. But there was some good explanation of why they want those changes to come from the Agricultural Committee members. So I think that's something that people are looking forward to having. The one request from the CAC was, when we have that discussion, can we please have that at Town Hall as opposed to Montauk, because it's more centrally located to a lot of the farmers and residents who are out here. The other piece that came up in that discussion was the request from committee members for the town to kind of have a list of all town-owned agricultural parcels and a listing on each of those what the easements are and potentially violations that are occurring. Third topic of discussion was around the field property. They want to form a subcommittee about putting a playground into that facility up there just off the long-term parking lot by the municipal property. So that will be forthcoming. We'll be forming that committee, and I'll be working closely with John Rooney and David to what we could potentially put in there. There was an update given to people with regards to some of the proposed changes for short-term rentals. Feedback there was generally positive, but again, some caution I mentioned just because so many families in the town do kind of see income from that. But I think, explanation of what we're looking to do there in terms of gauging what's going on in the short-term rental market was key. We also discussion with regards to the certificate of occupancy discussion we had last week with regards to possibly allowing licensed professionals to kind of do that certification. Just feedback is generally that legislation we passed is seen as problematic from those community members. We gave a lighting update with regards to the Main Street lighting. The residents also wanted to kind of get some update as to what we're looking to do in the municipal parking lot there, as that's still seen as a safety issue. And lastly, we had discussions around the recent press release with regards to the senior center as well, and what we're looking to do there. Generally, there was some support there, but there is some concern, we want to ensure that whatever path we do take forward with this, seniors are not being forgotten. We want to make sure that their concerns and their needs are fully addressed as we move forward with this. Human Services, a reminder that we have Halloween taking place on the 31st at 11:15 a.m. Be great to see everyone there. Just also want to mention that open enrollment period for Medicare Supplement Medigap is now available, which means you can enroll in the Medigap plan for the first time, switch between Medigap plans, and change from Medicare Advantage plan to a Medigap plan. Open enrollment ends December 7th. If you need support in doing this, please feel free to call Liliana Rodriguez, the case manager. Her number is 631-329-6939. Fire Marshal's office, and this is just generally goes across different areas of town employees. We've had instances of people calling in and being incredibly abusive to town staff. It is something we will not tolerate. It's the old adage, you catch more bees with honey than vinegar. And so I just encourage anyone interacting with town staff to be your best self. Trustees, there's work going on at the Lamb building, which has been a little bit disruptive to trustees and housing department employees. I know the town administrator is kind of working to provide space in the 111A suite with regards to that, but just that's ongoing as an issue. Just a reminder, on November 20th, we have a public hearing for the ADU implementation code changes. Just encourage all residents to comment on that in all aspects. Brooks Park, the site, I've circulated to my colleagues the proposed license agreement from the Brooks Park group. If we could just get feedback on people's opinions on that by the end of next week. I've also discussed with the fire marshal with regards to what driveway access requirements are for that property. Obviously, given the history and the nature of that property, we want to preserve as much of the natural environment there as possible. And so, what the driveway might look like is something I'm working with the fire marshal on. Public safety, we have, next week, we're expecting a letter from one of the town contractors to get a quote for the removal of trees in the Bucks Hill Preserve on the Fire Road. I know we'll update the colleagues on that accordingly. East Hampton Youth Task Force, related, but there's been a lot of press around the boys football team. I just wanted to call out the ladies varsity soccer team. They had an unbeaten season. Coach Nelson did a phenomenal job there, and congratulations to all those ladies. Arts Council Committee, tentatively, they are looking to do a networking event in Town Hall on November 21st at 6 p.m. I have checked the facility is available that time. If my board members are supportive, I would like to pursue holding that event in Town Hall. Additionally, came up in discussion with that committee last night. Historically, there used to be art installations in Town Hall that were kind of rotated across time, something that the committee would like to bring back, and just kind of, more kind of emphasis on representing local artists in Town Hall across time. And additionally, there was discussion around whether town would be open open to the Arts Council working to organize painting of community benches. Something's been done in some other towns, and we're just, add some color to Main Street as possible. So that's something we'll be discussing. Business committee, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we've been working with the business committee to, identify ways that they would like to see us improve operations in the building department. The first kind of bit of feedback came around stop work orders, that, could the town look at, more accommodations in areas where it's not a public safety issue, specifically prior to a stop work order being issued, notification being given to homeowners to amend any issues that might be going on, such as getting a permit. Also discussion in that committee around some of the complexities of revegetation plans that go on when site work is being undertaken, and, are there ways to find compromise in that area? Specifically mentioned, as we had the discussion here earlier today, was, the concept of, pollinator gardens going in, keeping soil on site as site clearing is done, because that obviously has a huge habitat within it. So that discussion's ongoing. Then there was discussion around revisiting what work might require a permit. Obviously, we hear feedback from people saying they're kind of getting ticketed where they're replacing a plank in their deck. Do we want to kind of revisit what work is requiring getting a permit? With regards to that, the discussion is there capability for code enforcement or building department to work in some of these kind of smaller areas, to do an on-site application for a building permit. If they do visit a site and they find someone is doing something, could that actually be done on time as opposed to stopping the development? We talked about fast track applications. We've mentioned here a bit today, just the concept of pools, decks, sheds, etc. We are working with OpenGov to actually have that fast tracking ability there. So that is ongoing. Also came up was discussions around some of the insurance challenges homeowners in the town are facing with regards to fire risk, and what the town could potentially do to address that. Lastly, there was discussion around the short-term rental proposed investment. One thing that came up there that I thought was of interest and they wanted me to share with you was, obviously we have we have within the code, the restrictions on people not being able to rent for less than 2 weeks. Whether the town would be open to the concept in the off season of reducing that restriction to have 1 week rentals in the off season, just to kind of enhance the shoulder season for homeowners and business owners. The concept of that exists elsewhere of a concept called no cold beds, which basically means that if a property is unoccupied, it should be made available for rent. Lastly, with discussion to year-round, increasing the year-round business opportunities, was the concept of tennis bubbles. It was interesting seeing that work at Abraham's Path, started as an open-air facility and later had that bubble put over it to allow year-round use. Is that something that the town would kind of work with operators to increase as well? And lastly, for the TIC Advisory Committee, we would like to do a work session in December with regards to updating on tick-borne diseases and some of the options we're looking to explore for managing the tick populations.
Thank you, Tom.
3 quick things. There's continued paving happening within the highway department and many roads and million paving. I want to thank the supervisor for adding $200,000 to the 2025 capital budget, because without that, we wouldn't be able to do as many roads. So Supervisor Burke-Gonzalez, thank you very much for adding that money, and to the Superintendent of Highways, Steve Lynch, for making sure our roads are safe and newly paved. On North Main Street, currently today is happening this week. Please note that the town is upliving some of the trees there to make sure we have safety for the lights to come down, light wash. I know that was something that the East Hampton Citizens Advisory Committee was looking for. I want to thank Steve O'Brien for prioritizing his staff to go do that. So there might be some parking that might be coned off. But again, it's another way in which the town board is looking to beautify some of our business areas then too. Lastly, we had a pre-construction meeting yesterday for the Montauk Inlet Harbor Dredging Project with the contractors, the federal government, the state, not the county, and myself and other town employees. That dredging project is imminent right now, and more specifically is that the parking lot at north of Gosman's, which is a town-owned parking lot, which is part of this project, will be shut down very shortly as they start the stage there. We will make sure property owners nearby will know that. Vendor will also know that, and also have signage put up. But again, that's a project that is honestly only moving forward because of what the supervisor was able to accomplish by finding funding sources to cover that. And it's impending, and it should start work within the next couple of weeks. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Kate?
Yes, I also would like to say that the Ditch Plains Dune reconstruction project is also imminent and will be happening in the next few weeks. I've been outreached by some of the groups that were here today, Rewild, Change Hampton, and Perfect Earth Project, and asked to put together a forum for how these organizations can help us update our native planting page that's provided by Natural Resources and make some of our web pages on that more user-friendly with pretty pictures, etc. So I'll be meeting with them in November. I just want to mention the No Kings Rally was held this past Saturday, and I just want to pass along from the organizers great appreciation to our town police department for keeping them safe and for putting up with the honking. And that was pretty consistent. My one recommendation would be for earplugs in the future. I want to give a quick update. Folks can see that there's new EV chargers on Town Hall property. They are 10 level 2 chargers with 2 ports each for a total of 20 ports, 60 amps per unit, 14 kilowatts per hour. We received a grant for this project, and that grant was from NYS DEC ZEV Grant Zero Emission Vehicles in the amount of $250,000. They should be electrified either this weekend or next, according to PSE&G. Lastly, quickly just state that David, because you brought it up in your beach report about dog poop bags being left on the beach. The Litter Action Committee and town staff met, and myself, they were with Patrick, our new information officer, or not new, some more, helping out, and we will be launching the Citizen Sam program, which is Citizen Sam is a wonderful dog who carries his own poop bag and puts it in a receptacle, and his friends who will be starting a new litter action campaign. Also just reminding folks that when you throw litter out on the street, that can impact dogs' health as they will be attracted to it and try to maybe eat some of whatever's there or drink some of whatever's there. And I've seen beer bottles, so that would be very, very disturbing to dogs, and as it is to humans in our environment. So please do not trash East Hampton. And I'll end right there.
If I could just say, I'm sorry.
Just very quickly, just one thing with the EV charging stations, just public to know that even if you don't have an electric vehicle, you are permitted to park there. Ideally, park in a space that's, free and open that's not. But if all the other parking spaces are taken and you need to park there, you are not prohibited for parking in that space if you don't have an EV vehicle.
Yeah, we'll get that message out when we notify every folks that they're online.
And if I could just say, Kate, I'd be interested in attending the forum with Change Hampton, Perfect Earth, and Rewild. As you folks know, we put $30,000 in the 2026 budget to help educate folks on native landscaping and also take a look at the plants that we recommend for revegetation. So that's something I'd be interested in. And to your point about the protest that took place here this past weekend, PD had to put up a 1/4 mile of barricades because they estimated 2,500 community members showed up for that. And like you said, we're so grateful for PD for keeping us safe. We are going to have to revisit because there were just so many folks arrived in cars that impacted local businesses around here. So we're going to have to take a look at that if they're looking to do an event here in the future.
Yeah, the organizers also brought that up out of consideration to the business owners.
For sure. Ian?
Spring CAC will meet tonight at Ashwag Hall at 6:30. Thank you for moving that back a little bit later, although looking at the time, it still might be tight.
Yeah.
Property Management Committee met last week. I believe we have a final version of the Osborne Homestead Management Plan I'd like to bring to this board, hopefully in November. Looking forward for the Property Management Committee. The November 12th meeting actually has a conflict with the town board based on a strained schedule. So just to put it out there, we're gonna have to reschedule that. Looking way ahead. Ag Advisory met on November 9th. As Tom mentioned, he addressed some of these with the Amagansett Citizens Advisory Committee, but there were recommendations or requests from the Ag Committee. There's also a very thoughtful Planning Board memo with their original thoughts. I think it's time for the town board to look at it, give some guidance, and then, if there's consensus to move forward on some parts, no parts, or whatever we think. Hopefully that can be in November as well. To Tom's point, that should definitely be at Town Hall. I believe both meetings in November are at Town Hall in November, but certainly makes sense not to do it in Montauk. And that's all I have.
Okay, great. I just want to remind folks that Saturday, October 25th is Drug Take Back Day, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. here at Town Hall. The following Saturday, November 1st, we're doing a reprieve of Drug Take Back Day, and we're also doing our second annual Free Community Shredding Day. Again, the hours are 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll be posting on the town website and social media. It was also on the front page of the Community Connection, our quarterly newsletter that went out earlier this month. We also have, we have a couple of weeks where we don't have town board meetings. The way the November fell, both Tuesday, November 4th, being Election Day, town offices are closed, and Tuesday, November 11th, being Veterans Day, again, offices here are closed. So what we did early in the organizational meeting is we set Wednesday, November 12th here in the main meeting room for a town board work session. So it's going to be 3 weeks before we meet. This is why today's meeting was so jam-packed with 7 topics, because we're going to be going 3 weeks without a work session. And then we'll have the following Tuesday, November 18th, will be another town board work session. So both work sessions for November are here at Town Hall. We will not be making the trip out to Montauk in November. And because there's such a 3-week lull, we did decide that we are going to have to schedule a special exec session, and I have a resolution. It's a walk-on for Thursday, October 30th at 11 a.m. because we need to discuss CPF and personnel. We can't go 3 weeks without exec because we already anticipate some issues coming up. So that's what I have for my liaison report. If we could go now to our resolutions. Tom?
Yes, thank you, Madam Supervisor. I will start with Resolution 2025-1391. This is the Wellness 60+ Floor Yoga Program. Be it resolved, the Town Board hereby approves the 60+ Wellness Yoga Floor classes to be provided by Stacy Hasler at the cost of the town not to exceed $875.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1392, this is to authorize attendance at the Suffolk County Food Manager Training Course for Rudolph DeSanti at a cost not to exceed $75.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's my pleasure to offer Resolution 2025-1393. This is to accept a donation of a memorial bench, a gift from Patricia DeRosa, whereas Patricia DeRosa would like to donate a memorial bench as a gift to the town of East Hampton in memory of her father, Mr. Pat A. DeRosa, to be placed at the Montauk Playhouse. Resolve, the town board hereby gratefully accepts the donation by Patricia DeRosa to the town of East Hampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have Resolution 1394, and this is a post-hearing adoption for a stop sign on Westgate Road and Crossways in Waynescott. The public hearing was held on October 16th, 2025, and this resolution is to adopt the installation of a new stop sign at Westgate Road and Crossways.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1395 is approval of various special events for November and December. The first is the Turkey Trot for the Amagansett Union Free School District on Wednesday, 11/18 at 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Next is the Spring School annual turkey trot at Spring School onto Old Stone Highway. That will take place Monday, November 24th, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Next, we have the Montauk Historic Society 16th Annual Lighting of the Montauk Lighthouse. That takes place on November 29th, 5 to 7. And the Chamber of Commerce 4th Annual Magic of Montauk Holiday Fair. That takes place on Saturday and Sunday, December 12th and 14th, December 13th and 14th, 1 to 6 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1396 is to appoint Provisional Building Plans Examiner Jason Sutherland. Resolved that Jason is hereby appointed to the full-time position of Buildings Plans Examiner in the Building Department, which is at $58,496.67 annually for a 40-hour work week, effective retroactive to October 20th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 1397 is a resolution to amend Resolution 2025-1331 to correct the reimbursement recipient of a cleanup deposit for a special event.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have Resolution 2025-1398 is to amend Resolution 2025-279 East Hampton Volunteer Ocean Rescue, and this is to add an additional participant as auxiliary squad, Clint Bennett.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have Resolution 1399. This is to increase improvement facilities at East Hampton Garbage and Refuse District in the town of East Hampton and in Suffolk County. This is to hold a public hearing on November 20th. This is regards to funding for the grinder to do this by bond as opposed to intermunicipal funds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
2025-1400 is a notice of bidders for EH 25-051. It's the purchase and delivery of jet skis for 2025. The bid is available October 30th, 2025, and due back November 13th, 2025. Please contact the town's purchasing department with further questions.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And this is the walk-on resolution I mentioned. This is Resolution ID 33572. It's to schedule a special meeting Thursday, October 30th, 2025 at 11 a.m. for the purpose of holding an executive session to discuss CPF and personnel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's everything we have for today, unless there's anything else that needs to be brought up. Do I have a motion to go into exec session?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for CPF, personnel, real estate, public safety, and advice of counsel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, LTV.
Thank you, Town Board, and you